Right? All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I would like to call this meeting of the Berlin-Boylston Regional School Committee to order. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded. Your image and/or voice may be broadcast. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hi. So this is going to be really difficult, but the very first thing I'd like to do tonight is I'd like us to have a moment of silence in honor of Rachel Jamiski, who is the young woman that our district lost this past month. I didn't know her, but I know there was an outpouring of love and support from this community. And it's just, it doesn't matter. It's awful to hear about the loss of a young life with so much potential. So let us just take one moment and let us all think about Rachel and her family. Thank you. All right, next up we have public comments. So is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? Okay. So you can just stand up, yeah, sure, and just state your name and introduce yourself, who you are, and feel free to go ahead.
Okay, I'm Jennifer McCafferty. I work in the cafeteria here at Tohoto. I'm also a parent and student here at Tohoto. And we're just hoping that if what's in this stays, because we're not sure where things are at the moment, that we all stay district employees. It's the most important thing to all of us. Many of us have years of longevity here and have put lots of years and energy and effort into working here. And we just want to make sure that that doesn't get lost in the transition of things. That's it.
No, thank you so much for standing up. Thank you. All right, did anyone else want to speak?
I had a quick question.
Sure.
I just noticed tonight when I checked the agenda that one of the things being covered is a vote for her school choice. So I don't know if I could just, say 30 seconds worth.
Sure. Did you want us to just introduce yourself for everybody?
Sure. You guys okay if I sit?
Sure, yeah, of course. Just say your name and then you can go ahead.
All right. Jason Carroll.
Hi, Jason.
Probably half the people in the room know me.
Yep.
And know my kid's story. I only have one little one who's now fully grown, and she did all of her growing through this school system, Berlin Memorial, and some people like you. So I'm a proud parent of a kid who is in this district, and I chose multiple times to have her in this district through school choice. So we never lived in Berlin or Boylston. I lived on the town line for a while and watched the bus circle in my neighborhood, but not be allowed to put her on the bus. So that was like, that little negative was about the only negative I've had through, and it's nothing that anybody can do to change that. So we've been happy sending our kid to Berlin Memorial now to Tohoto for the last 2 years. So I just wanted to make it clear to the people who were voting that there are many people like me. I'm one of at least 5 parents with a kid in the 7th grade in Clinton that sends a kid here. At least at the beginning of the school year, there were at least 5 that I know of that come in from Clinton. And at least 3 of them, including my daughter, are on highest honors every semester, every quarter. And as Carol and Lisa know, I chose at the beginning of this year to keep my kid here instead of sending them to Amza, because I I really like Carol and Lisa and everything that this school system has to offer. So my hope is that other parents like me and my kid have the option going forward to send their kid here versus Clinton, mental local public school. So I'm very appreciative and hope that you guys consider that as an option going forward, if not this coming year, after that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Did anyone else have a comment they would like to make? Okay, we will move on to communications. Does anyone have any communications they wanted to share? Jess did, yeah.
April 2nd, I attended the Master Plan Implementation Committee in Boylston, as you passed it on to me, and then the selectmen explained to me. The plan is to meet quarterly, and they gave us the plan to review and to come back. So I was thinking of something the subcommittee on student success could do, and then if there's any concerns, certainly, we're concerned about more housing and room in the schools. But they will report more. It was more of an informational.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's a great spot for that to sit. Thanks so much. Anyone else with communications? Okay. All right, next up is consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second, Laurie and Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Any opposed? That motion passes. All right, first up, my report. So it's been a pretty busy month, but I don't really have anything to report tonight. The only thing is that, just a reminder that we have town meeting in both towns. I believe it is the night before our next school committee meeting. So we will not meet again before that. Is it May 7th in both towns? Is it May 6th? Monday, May 6th? It's the Monday. Yep, thanks, Janelle. So it's Monday, May 6th. So I would urge anyone listening to go. I know the committee, we usually go to our towns. We'll see, I might stop in Berlin and try to make an appearance in both towns. But it's going to be really important, especially in Berlin, for the Berlin residents to go out and vote in favor of the school budget, because I believe the school budget differs from the town budget in Berlin. In Boylston, we came to an agreement. So the budget matches what the FinCom recommended in Boylston. So it's going to be really important for parents to go and support the schools and the budget. All right, and that was it for me. Okay, Emerson, do you want to give a quick update?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
So it's finally the fourth quarter, which we all know, which is the busiest, but also the most exciting time for students, I would say. This week is our last spirit week and pep rally for the high schoolers, which really marks the beginning of all of the end of the year activities that are going to come. Our spring sports officially began. Yesterday, the girls lacrosse and the varsity softball had amazing games and won against both Middlesex and Clinton. The record for both the boys varsity baseball and the girls lacrosse is 1-1, and the varsity softball is 2-0, which is quite strong. Track is having their first track meet right now, actually, I think, which stadium men are coming from to talk to you all later. For clubs, everyone's planning what the end of our year is gonna look like, whether that's submitting the final draft of the yearbook, which we're doing tomorrow, or the final touches for prom and scheduling the last cafe for cause. The prom tickets have been getting sold at lunches, which have been selling very fast, which is May 17th at the Chocolate Inn. And I feel like all the classes are trying to sneak in a little last fundraiser to raise all the money for next year. The class of 2024 just had the volleyball tournament, and the class of 2026 had a Chipotle fundraiser over the weekend. And lastly, I would say all the seniors are getting in their last college acceptances and weighing their options to see where they'll end up next year. And for middle school, the 6th and 7th grade just finished their ELA MCAS today, and the 8th grade is doing that tomorrow and the next day. Yeah, we're excited to see what the last quarter holds for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Emerson. Okay, so next we have Nancy, who is not here tonight. So I believe there is someone from Whitson's that's going to present the bid that we are voting on tonight. So why don't we do that now? It's the food service, so it's the Whitson's bid that we're gonna be voting on. So who, Carol, if you wanna?
Yeah,
Sure.
yep, I have with me right now Alyssa Charles, the district manager for Woodson's,
I,
and she's gonna answer any questions that you
That's
might
great.
have. I have some information myself. You have a paper that was submitted regarding, there's a summary of proposal on it from the business office. That includes other information in the report, but I think you'll find information that's valuable in terms of making a decision tonight for a vote. But Alyssa, do you want to come up? You want to move over? Come and sit here. So we had a chance to talk today with Rob, who could not be with us this evening. He had another emergency, but we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
And if it's okay with you, if there are any questions, I'm gonna just put our Christine Catterton, who I know spoke with you all before from our business office, on the line, in case there's any questions that I can't answer for you. Get everybody there. So I wasn't going to present anything tonight. I believe that you all received the bid materials, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer questions.
I was curious, they said that you were going to, that profits were posted, and I was, or you were trying to post profits. I'm curious, like, is that just from state funds for Massachusetts, and that's our profits, plus like doubles and a la carte items, or I just didn't understand that.
Sure, so the way the revenue works is after expenses, anything additional stays with the school district. So we have a certain guarantee, and then beyond that, anything additional that's earned stays in the food service revolving account. Those funds have to be used for the food service program, but they stay with the school district. Does that answer your question?
So then it's the state funds.
Yeah,
'cause it's-
yeah. Do you want to talk about that as the example, or we can talk about the?
Sure. Yep, so this school year, for the past few years, the state has been giving supply chain assistance to every school district, more or less, in the state. And so this year, there was an additional $30,000 that was deposited to the food service program in February. And that, again, it goes into the food service fund, it belongs to the school district, and it's used for any expenses related to the program.
The other piece, I know that we have our folks here from the cafeteria services who asked a question about keeping our staff here.
Yes.
Tax on.
Yeah, and our bid does propose that you all stay employees of the school district, and that's, for the term of the contract.
Where can we see that in the bid? Because I was looking through some of the proposals in there. I know the letter that we received through email says that, but then one of the flyers or the proposals, there was a whole section on welcoming the BBRSD employees into our family. And the way it, as an idea or a gesture, that sounds nice, but the way it read like an onboarding system to be an employee.
Sure. I'm just gonna bring in Christine. Do you know exactly where in the,
I was trying to
contract
grab
that-
it, but it's
when it- where in the bid
difficult finding
that's stated?
technical issues.
It's like really in a.
Hi.
You were on mute.
Oh, I apologize. Oh, I apologize. So the committee is wondering where in the bid it states that the employees will remain school district employees.
That was stipulated in the RFP.
I remember reading.
Yeah,
that.
it was in the RFP, I know that.
So
Is
what-
it in the bid and will it be in the
If you
contract?
look at our Schedule E, you'll see that the expense for the hourly team members is associated with the SSA.
so pretty much everything is gonna stay the same as it is right now.
In terms of officer operational structure yet.
Well, what would change?
Well, the team members would remain SFA team members, our manager would remain a victims manager. So there's no operational changes.
What's SSA again?
SFA, the School Food Authority,
Oh,
is the
SFA,
DESI term
yeah.
for the school,
Yes,
district.
I thought you
It's
said
under the
S.
food program.
Gotcha.
But would anything else change?
Nothing, just as everything's outlined in the bid, we've kept it, very consistent with how things have been for the past few months that we've been here.
The elementary schools haven't seen the dramatic change that the high school has seen. Will that be changing?
So as, we work, more and more with the district, as Rob becomes able to, work more and more with each school, then absolutely you'll start to see those changes implemented at each school. It just takes a little bit of time, which is why we're glad we'll be able to hopefully continue this partnership with the school district, so that way we can continue to make those changes, because we do find it does take a little bit of time to kind of get everything in place the way that we'd like to see it.
And is there going to be like a formal feedback process like from kids?
Yeah, so we do have, Whitson's annually does surveys twice a year, so we do have Rob, our food service director, is working to get that survey ready. We'll open the day we return from February break. And yes, April break, thank you. I'm not pushing us back.
Okay, go back in time.
So after the day we return from April break, and that's open to parents, to students, anyone who's interested in filling out that survey can complete it with the school that they're at and any comments that they have. And we kind of review all of that feedback, and we do it in October and then again in April, so we do twice.
Rob did put together a survey in February, I think early on in the transition, but we only got 13 respondents back to that, so it really wasn't enough to get.
In what mode did it go out?
It went out in newsletters, yeah. So it was early on.
So
So
right before vacation?
I don't remember, I thought it was right, it was the beginning of February, but, so with that, then they'll do another one now in April, which will really guide us. I think it's important to note that even though we have not had like a first read on this, and there's a lot of material to digest, that if we don't vote tonight, we're gonna lose the opportunity to bid on Whitson's. They were the only ones who did submit a bid to us, so that's important to know. It doesn't have to do with Whitson's timeframe so much as DESI timeframe, and DESI's,
Carol.
they changed their
I
timeframe.
thought we had a 60-day window from the date of that letter, which I think was the 18th? Like it says 60 days, this bid is good for 60 days or something like that.
So the bid from Whitson's stays good, however, DESI needs the executed contract by their deadline.
Oh, what's the deadline?
May 3rd,
And it's valid for 60 days.
right.
So we have a possible meeting on the 23rd. We could, if we need more time to look at it, we could do that.
Yeah, if you have the meeting, and I was gonna talk about that in my report, Mike, I didn't know what everyone wanted to do, so.
Though, is that over, oh no, that's the.
That's our as-needed
Yeah.
meeting.
That's the
Yes.
as needed, but I wanted to talk about that with everyone when I get to my report. So that's a consideration. The original date was in April, right?
That's right.
April 12th to just send the draft decision back to DESI. They've just moved their date. So we're trying to monitor. It's not them, it's meeting DESI deadlines to make sure we get this in in the right time frame. So that's, I just want you to be aware of that too, so. But I think that's why Alyssa will help answer questions that we see we need to make an informed decision.
Can I ask a question on the bidding process up to, I know you said there's only one company that submitted a bid. What was the process up to that? That.
I have a follow-up question along Julie's question there. So how many separate people did you interview to become the district food service director? Outside of the Whitson's bid?
To my knowledge, we didn't do any interviews for an individual person at this time.
No one
So you didn't
applied.
even advertise for it?
I think she did.
Did you advertise for it?
I thought she.
Yeah. That was back
Well,
in,
Nancy would have been, Nancy should be here to answer these questions. Where is Nancy? I'm
She's on
sorry.
leave.
She's on leave? Oh, I wasn't aware. Did that communication go out to the committee?
It's bereavement.
Was it bereavement? She's on bereavement leave right now, so she'll be back by the 23rd?
I can't answer that at this time.
Okay, Nancy's on bereavement leave right now.
She's on leave right now.
Is it bereavement leave or is she
Just,
Yeah,
leave? Okay. Because I know she spearheaded this whole situation,
Yeah.
so she probably would
And I
have
can
a lot of the
speak to it
answers.
to a little bit the way the process works. So
Yeah.
generally, I know Nancy, enacted it on behalf of the district. Generally, and what Nancy did was the procedure where she uses the DESI template for the RFP, which is required for food service providers. It was posted publicly so that any interested bidders were able to come. There was a tour of the food service facility, which I believe was required attendance in order to place a bid, you had to come to the tour, which is pretty standard. Whitson's came, as did one other company, and it was all sort of set out in the schedule in the RFP with the time frame for the first meeting, when bids were due, et cetera, and we have a copy of the RFP here, if anyone would like to take a look. And then of the two companies, Whitson's and the one other who were present on the bid tour, Whitson's was the only one that submitted a bid.
And then we didn't interview for it, because I remember last time we talked about this in December, the committee wanted you to interview as well as do RFPs. I could be mistaken, but I'm almost positive we put that in our motion when we voted on it.
I believe she did post it, but I think.
I have to go back.
It was posted before we hired Whitson's. She posted it like back in
Right, that was
November.
posted in the fall.
I don't know
I'm
that
talking
a
about
job
this.
description was posted to hire outside at this time for next year.
Yeah, we might need to check the minutes, because that might have been included in the motion that we voted on, that we wanted to see that.
What meeting
I'm
was
not
that? Was
100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was
that was December meeting.
I know we discussed it. I don't know if it actually went in the vote or not, but I know we discussed it and you said you would.
Okay, I don't recall that, but I'd have to go back and look.
All right, so do you want to wait until April 23rd to vote? I mean, I think if we do a meeting on April 23rd, it'll be a Zoom meeting. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now.
I have some other questions too that I don't know if you guys can answer or if Nancy would be better to answer them when she comes back. You have, in that letter here, you have the increased lunch meals that were served from January to March. And it shows pretty decent increases there.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm curious if that is because of Whitson's, or is that because year to year with the state's free lunch program, inflation, families maybe trying to save on groceries, just sending them through? I don't see the September to October numbers, which might help answer that question.
I'd say the food is 100% better,
Well, that's my next question.
in my opinion.
Yeah,
But I'm talking about
I don't know
sales.
if I can speak to that. Unfortunately, Rob, our food service director, had an emergency and
Yeah.
couldn't be here tonight. I know we were just sort of looking at, since we've been here. So since Whitson's has been here,
Yeah,
that's sort of what we're looking at.
that's understandable. I'm just
Yeah.
curious, is that because of Whitson's or is it because of the economy?
Accounts that are similar in size and scope.
I'm sorry, say that again?
What the benchmark should be in terms of participation.
Oh, yes, and so, yeah, Christine, we're looking at a supplemental document that Rob created, but Christine was explaining that projected increases that are indicated as well are comparing similar Whitson's districts we're benchmarking against similar districts that have like a comparable size and scope.
So Carol, if you can find that information for the next meeting. And then I guess it would be nice, you said you sent surveys out. It sounds like a lot of people may not have seen that.
Yep.
I'm just curious, Julie, you say the food is 100% better, but are the kids taking it 100% better? Or I hear conflicting reports from people that we talk to. There's a lot of extra food prep. There's a lot of extra food waste. What is the food waste situation with this versus a different program that we might have had before? Those are concerns that I have.
Yeah, I can't answer the food waste.
Yeah, I know you
For
can't,
that, But
yeah.
I can
But I
tell
was-
you
I
that
was-
food quality is better,
I mean, I hear you. I tend to believe
which
that.
probably relates to learning.
I tend to believe you on that, but I'm curious about that waste. We don't have that information here, so we don't know. I don't know if they know or they can tell us, but
I could say that in general, A big part of Whitson's efforts and philosophy is, we try to introduce a lot of new foods. So things that maybe are like plant-based or meatless, sort of the greener initiatives, as well as just sort of things that are a little bit different, introduce students to new foods. And so sometimes when we try one of those new items, we don't know exactly how many to make. So the first go around, there could be a little extra. We also, like the subsequent times that meal is served, we sort of are able to correct for it. Similarly, in general, we like to make sure that the first student and the last student have the same choices. So we never like to see that the last student to come through the line at the last lunch only has the choice of a cheeseburger or a salad and not all the other array of options. And that's very important to Whitson's as a whole. We believe that every student should have the same choices. And so sometimes it does end up with a little extra waste, especially on days where maybe pasta's the main entree and it was going to be, it was really popular last time and it usually is. And so we cut back on some other things, but maybe for whatever reason it was too much. And so there's a little bit of extra. Or we didn't realize that the special of the day was going to be so popular and we end up with a little bit extra, extra cheeseburgers or pizza that day. So it's sort of a learning curve for us as we come in and see what are the students' tastes, what do they like, what do we need to create, what do we need to, push up the numbers on, and what do we need to cut back. So it's definitely a learning process. That being said, we do have a lot of green initiatives as well. We work with a lot of school districts on composting, plastic recycling, and things like that as well to try to reduce that carbon footprint.
Will you be doing that here next year?
Absolutely, yeah, and we can do any of the programs outlined in the bid, which include like the Next Tracks program, which is like a thin plastic recycling, as well as composting, are things that we can certainly work with our team and with the school committee and school districts on implementing. Absolutely.
Does food waste ever get donated to people who have no food?
Usually no, it's a little bit of a liability for the school district because the school district owns the food. So it's sort of what's going to happen between when it's sort of picked up and where it gets where it's going. It can be a bit of a food safety issue.
That's the same for restaurants too.
Yeah, you can't, there's laws against, you can only donate, I think, for food pantries will only take.
They don't want the muffin tops?
Yeah.
It is, and as Christy mentioned, there's a lot of regulations, Board of Health regulations, and also some of the food we use is USDA commodities, which have their own regulations because they're subsidized by the government.
Subsidized, yep.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all hate to see it, we really do. Food waste is the worst.
So as you go on and get more familiar with the kids, that cuts down, is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's definitely the hope.
The hope, or that it happened? Like we're in April now, so has that happened here?
So again, it's every time we introduce a new item, we don't know how it's gonna go, but we like to continue to introduce new things.
Right.
To keep the kids' palates fresh, to give them new options.
So like from the start of this program in January to now, has that cut down at all?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have that information.
I don't know how do we measure the food waste? We'd have to, we're
I
not.
don't know.
I think that's not something, like, you're not gonna be able to answer that. You're not in the cafeteria. The only people that might be able to answer that is the people serving the food, but they have to be paying attention to what gets thrown away. So I mean, what you could do, Carol, is
They're
if you
here.
want. Well, if you're paying attention to what's thrown away, so.
I mean, we have a panel of experts.
All right, right here. So why don't we see, all right, so can you guys, not all of us.
We just wallflowers.
All right, Tammy, are you able to answer Mike's question?
Yes.
Do you, I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you want?
Like any.
Basically, so when she's in the kitchen, she does all the overseeing of food going out.
And
So
then
she also sees what stays in the kitchen.
I have a notebook and I
She
keep
does all the
numbers.
Okay, so do you want to speak, could you
So
speak
is
to
it
that?
more or less since we started doing this?
The food waste.
Fluctuates. It depends
Still
on
wanna know.
if
Okay.
it's something new to the kids. We tried an appetizer sample, for example. And I never thought it was gonna go like it did. We ran out.
It was,
It was
you
crazy.
just can't.
But that day we had a lot of burgers left that they eat every day and a lot of chicken patties that they eat every day. So the next time you prepare for sampler and you don't make as many of the other things. But unfortunately, we do have food waste. But like I said, Bob likes to try the same thing twice, even if it doesn't sell. Because the second time, it's new the first time, so the second time, they have, they have a better idea of what they're being served. So it does fluctuate and we're getting better on our numbers. We're not throwing away as much chicken patties and burgers as we were in the beginning.
So that's good. So that seems like, it's trending in the right direction, but you started in January. It hasn't even been 4 months yet. It's been 3 months.
Yeah.
And we had a break in there.
And I can say that, just I can only speak for Tohoto personally, and Renee and Rich and I are at lunches, at almost every day. And we, talk to the students. The students definitely are feeling like they're, compared to the beginning of the year. So I can say from the beginning of the year till now, the kids absolutely feel as though the portions, they really enjoy the meals. And, I don't want to speak, but you all seem to be in a good place right now, better than you were at the beginning of the year. So, so I make sure, we talk to them and the students all of the time. So that communication is constantly happening. We are constantly asking the kids, what do you think of this? What do you think of that?
Yeah.
What do you, are you feeling full? What do you wish you had more? And I have noticed that kids are absolutely eating more fruits and vegetables. With the,
Yeah.
Interesting. Like
100%.
They're eating like the cut up cucumbers, and they like big fresh strawberries. Those were like level.
That's great.
I mean, those are all incidental reports, but it's like every day. We are seeing this every day. So
And we do, I think what we run out of is salads more than anything too, right? Like, so,
We're still trying to get a grasp on
right,
that.
like kids really are wanting
Yeah.
salads,
Yeah.
because they're
That's
big and they can have protein to them, and it was really nice. I think in the beginning, it was a big shift for everybody, and that was, difficult for the kids too. There were certain things that they didn't like and they missed the old, but I think it's kind of been a good combination. And the fact that they've all been here, this is their safe net. Like their teachers changed, but you guys have been their safe people. And so they were worried about that too. And the fact that they keep seeing you has been really huge, and making them feel good.
Okay, so do you guys want to vote on this now, or do you want to wait until April 23rd and have a meeting then to do a vote on this?
Has Nancy reviewed, who reviewed this?
She did review it in preparation of the meeting tonight. I did have questions for the school committee at this time. Now, as a body, I'm hearing a couple of things. I heard mention of a survey going out again. I was unclear about I didn't quite catch the last part of that. Other than Whitson's survey going out in April, is there another survey that you want? I missed the last
You
part.
mentioned some February survey.
Yeah, so I missed the last part, Michael, what you said about the survey. That's all.
It was what Jess had mentioned about, I was curious just how parents, how kids are liking it, how the staff are liking it. Is there food waste, not food waste? Is it more or less to prepare? Just, overall, how is it going? And then we had the numbers for this year. But I'd be curious to see if that's because of Whitson's or is it maybe just a trend this year because of the economy?
Yeah. That's a September to December you were asking.
Right,
for
yeah.
Participation.
Yeah.
So the survey, is the school committee comfortable with a survey that will go out in April from Whitson's, or did you want us to create another one in
No.
addition to?
yeah.
Just one. Nobody's going to
answer
answer two.
Yeah.
Just do one.
Everybody.
So if Whitson's is doing one, that's great. Now, when is that going out?
But the information I'm asking for, Carol, doesn't
Yeah, but what-
necessarily need to come from a survey, at least not all of it, doesn't need to come from a survey, it's just data.
So the survey's April 22nd, and I believe it's open for 2 full weeks.
Yeah, so that's not gonna help us we're not gonna get that information for our April 23rd vote. So yeah, I mean, Carol, Mike, you're making some good points. It would be great to have this data before we vote on this.
I'm also curious why nobody was interviewed for the in-house program that we discussed.
Yeah, I was just trying to look back, but I'll have to look back on that again, Mike. I will tell you that, and this is just the way it is, we would have to go out if Whitson's didn't come in, we would post for a director, but To your point about whether it was supposed to go out simultaneously, I'd have to go back and look if that was done. I'm unaware of that.
I don't know if we dictated a time when it was supposed to go out, but just in the normal course of business so that you can get it done, I guess would be the timeline.
The posting for a director?
Yeah, I believe we talked about, this was a stopgap measure for this year because of the issues that we had in November and December. We were curious, number one, about the employees staying employees. And then two, about whether this was the route to go based on what improvements have been made, measure those improvements by the users, what's their experience with it, financially, what's the experience with it, are we doing better, are we doing worse? All those questions that we would think would just be normal questions to evaluate such a big decision like this just aren't here.
How long, is this bid for 1 year or for 3 years?
They're for 1 year.
For 1 year, okay.
And then renew for 3 or up to
Right.
4.
I mean, it might be the best option, we just don't have the information. We're just doing this because you say, oh yeah, they're cool, we like them, go for it, please vote for it. We don't have any data that says that it's better.
Well, we talk to people in the community, we talk to our kids.
You talk to the 13 and 14-year-olds, is it actually better?
Yeah, they're gonna tell you, yes.
Okay,
They're gonna say,
well then that would be
absolutely. They're
one,
gonna say
that would be
it's gross.
one set of data that
Yeah.
we could have.
So
Do
do
you
you
think it's a
guys,
matter of teenagers know what their peers think and food?
so Julie, Laurie, Jess, do you guys feel that we have enough information to vote tonight, or do you want to wait? Julie?
I feel like we have enough information.
Okay, Laurie, what are you thinking?
I mean, I love the real food, I just don't, I feel like I'm making a decision based on what I think and not, I don't really know what.
Yeah, Mike, as much as I hate to
Yeah,
agree with you, I really don't want to have a meeting on
I mean, I got a
the
shirt and a cup.
With your
for it.
cup, I was just saying, yeah.
This is gonna be the only time tonight.
Is there a way that?
Jess, what do you think?
Is there a way that we could shorten the window of that, like have it go out tomorrow and close by Friday? 'cause vacation? Yeah. Like
So the survey,
Yeah.
yeah, it's unfortunately not because it's for, Whitson does it for all school districts, so it's released simultaneously, company-wide for every district that we're in.
I do have one final question as well. The 8,000 guaranteed surplus, can you explain how that works? Because you say, so guaranteed surplus of 8 grand, you give some numbers about what you project is gonna happen. And then you say you project by the end of the year, we're gonna be in a $30,000 surplus. So where does that 22,000 go to? Should we not have a higher than 8,000 benchmark? How does that all work?
And Christine, I'll let you speak to this. Did you hear the question?
I'm hearing, but can you reiterate it?
Yeah, so the question was about the $8,000 guarantee versus the projections for the full year. I believe the $8,000 was what was stipulated in the RFP.
Correct.
Right, so $8,000 was kind of what was stipulated by.
So it says here,
in
it
the
says
RFP.
Whitson submitted their bid with a guarantee of a surplus of 8,000 next year.
Oh, okay, you're looking at Nancy's notes.
I don't know who they came
Is
from.
it-
We
is
got
that-
an email. Yeah, it's Nancy.
Yeah, it
Okay.
says Nancy on the top.
Yeah, so that's for this current school year and that $30,000.
No, that's for next year. It says Whitson submitted their bid with a guarantee of a surplus of 8,000 in fiscal
Yep.
year 25. That's next year, right?
Yep. And then where are you seeing the 30,000?
Yeah, so then it says, well, she says she reviewed the P&L for the last few months. She goes on to say, projecting $31,300
Right.
profit from March to the end of the school year.
Right, so the first line that you were reading, the bid with the guarantee of a surplus for 8,000 is for FY25, correct? That second paragraph that Nancy included is a projection for the end of this school year.
Mhm.
And that 1,000 includes that supply chain funds that I mentioned earlier, which was right around $30,000 and change.
So those won't be here next year.
We don't know. That's determined by the state government.
It wasn't very clear from this.
So,
I wish she was here to answer these.
Megan, if you don't mind, because could we allow, if they have anything else to add or to say, because this, I think, would impact them, would that be appropriate just to?
Sure.
Because I think they have information.
Yep, sure. Did you guys have anything you wanted to add or say?
Well, I know one of the reasons why our numbers are up is kids love the hamburgers and chicken patties and cheeseburgers and fries they can get every single day. So, and Our numbers have been up since the kids have got free lunch.
Oh, yeah.
Our numbers have went way up when that started. But
What kind of
That's-
fries are they?
different kinds.
I get a sweet potato fry.
Sometimes
Really?
we have Pringle tots, tater tots, yes.
My daughter eats a veggie burger every day.
There's a variety of
Yeah,
different
and
hash browns.
The hot sandwiches all come with fries.
Sometimes they get a sandwich just fries and fries.
So,
You're still getting
I
chicken
mean,
patty.
so
You're
if I'm
still
gonna
getting
say,
burger.
the main lunch is a sandwich, can I get fries? No, well, I'll have a cheeseburger.
So the variety options are better. I'm sure, does that make
But
this
they're
more work
still
for
not
you?
making the best choices sometimes, like there's
But
definitely,
it's
there
still a
are
burger
some
or
kids who get a
chicken
cheeseburger literally every day.
Yeah, but that's not something we can control.
No, I know, but I mean,
Yeah, we're not gonna
have
control
hamburgers every day, so they would be forced to take something else. I mean, they are taking fruit too, but
The Harvest Bar has been great. They do love all the fruits and vegetables that they can get. And salads, we do salads as a meal, but we also do side salads within the Harvest Bar. Not every day, they love the Caesar salad, you can't put enough out there. But I think numbers, I mean, they are up a little bit more, but I think they've been up since the kids have been getting free lunch. I mean, our numbers have gone up since then.
free lunch was last year as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So then the comparisons were
But
last,
it's a
last
lot more.
January, last
That's
February, and last March.
It's a lot more work than it used to be.
Yeah, we're running. That's one of my concerns, is just that then we don't have time for breaks some days, which is not legal probably, or great.
Yeah, what do you mean you don't have time for
And
breaks?
we're just scrambling to get everything done, so that can be an issue.
to be a lot of components. If it's a taco day or, something that has a lot of components, it's,
So do you need another person? Sorry.
very much space.
Yeah, we don't have a table.
We kind of need to run the table,
Yeah.
and we have about 6 feet and 4 tables, so sure.
You don't need position.
Is there one broken or?
No,
it's
just
just one person just having to do it.
Because we're trying to
Share
promote
it.
fruits and do all this.
Something about-
Oh, okay, all right. All right, let's get back on track. So Carol wants to share one thing, and then, all right, Jess, how do you feel? Do you want to wait until April 23rd to vote? Or do you want to vote now?
I mean, if.
I'm like really on the
We don't have to
fence.
make the decision before May 3rd, we don't have to make a vote tonight. I mean, I think I'm a little uneasy because Nancy's here, I mean, she did review it, and I guess she approved it from her end, was that the conclusion of her review? Nancy?
She was comfortable presenting to, what you have in front of you tonight, as far as making the recommendation. I did just go back to the December 3rd meeting. There was an approval of, this is the minutes, approval of Whitson's Food Service Management Company, a vote. The motion was made by Mrs. Hart and seconded by Mrs. Lee. Mr. Topman made amended motion, seconded by Mrs. Lee, to ensure current staff remained, employed
That's what it
with
was.
the same pay and benefits, and that the school committee will be consulted before making a decision for next year. 6-4 amended motion passes. So that was a discussion. There was nothing about going out again for an individual.
So that, it wasn't in the motion, Carol, but I distinctly remember Nancy sitting here and saying, yes, they would advertise for the position and compare what would be the best interest of the school.
I also feel there was some discussion around like the food distributor, it was, then that would add that other element to the quality of the food that we get from Whitson's is
Yeah,
much more than what
that's-
we had before.
Definitely was part of the conversation, yeah.
Also, some of it, at the end of the day, some of it has to be the school's decision, so DESI, we need to approve this bid, right? It's a DESI rule, that the school committee approves the bid, when you have an outside company. But it's not necessarily our decision to decide if the district keeps it, the director of food services in-house or out of house. That, I think, is a Carol/Nancy, or Carol,
But I think we did, in all due respect for the committee, did agree to have a consultation with the school.
You
committee.
did, yes, we said we would talk
Very
about it, so we're talking about it. So, I mean, I kind of feel like it would be,
It includes employees who are paid by the district through a budget that this committee approves. So
Yeah,
as far as
100%.
I'm concerned,
Yep.
it is our decision.
Well, yeah, if we decide that, if the cost is different. So Lisa, sorry, I haven't asked you, what are you thinking about this? Do you want to wait to get more information to vote, or do you feel one way or the other? Do you like Whitson's?
I do like Whitson's.
Yeah.
I think it's a vast improvement. I think the kids are getting healthier food. I've heard good things from the parents about that. They're happy about that.
Okay.
The contract is for a year, right?
Yeah, it
And then
is. Yeah,
you
you're
have the
making
option to
another-
renew. So I almost feel like we can gather all that information over the coming year, because this is just
Over a
been,
year, yeah.
you know, and have just a better data set to
Yep.
actually evaluate it from. So I'm actually comfortable with voting tonight, although I do respect that you
Well-
have some good questions.
I agree, we can gather that data over the year, but can we? Will they? Because they were supposed to have something for us before we made the next decision,
Mhm.
and they don't.
What if we did this? What if we voted tonight and we made a motion, but that we only approve this bid if the district keeps staff?
Well, that's already in there.
No, that was for last year. That's not for this bid.
No.
I mean, I guess it's in the bid,
no,
right?
She
It's
definitely
in
told
ours,
us that's
ours.
in
No,
there.
no,
I mean, again,
Yeah.
I guess it's not black
No,
and white
it's-
enough for me. Did you?
all the staff will stay
It-
on as employees. If we were to take them on, that could be considered a material change, which would force you to go back out to bid.
Right, yeah, that's what
And
I
then
thought
we
you
have to
said.
vote again.
We're
All
gonna-
right,
so
all
that's not
right,
something
okay,
that
all right.
that we're changing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's my biggest concern is,
Go
If
ahead.
they're saying they need more help, right? No?
We do, but we
Yes.
don't have somewhere to put somebody. That's the thing, is there's not enough space to have another person necessarily.
well, is this Tonto?
You don't all necessarily need to
Not
have
just-
space.
I think a dishwasher would help.
Okay, yeah.
We can concentrate on the food part of it.
And we could certainly work with Rob to figure out where a person could fit in. Maybe it's someone to sort of help for a few hours during the day when other people are taking their breaks, that would free up time. We could certainly work with Rob to figure that out. And, again, it's as the school district staff, that's your decision.
Yep.
And this bid does include just the current staff. So that is something that we might have to adjust for if there is somebody added. Not in the sense that we have, go back up to bid, but just that, we make our projections based off of the labor model that's presented to us in the labor schedule. So if we're adding other people in, that's just something we have to keep in mind.
What if you added a Whitson's person to do the dishes or to do whatever?
So I think we
Would
would,
we have to change the bid for that?
yes, because we include all the labor
Gotcha.
for anyone. Yes.
Gotcha. So at this point, this is kind of the bid at hand.
I would prefer that, I think that in line with everything we're doing here, that we keep that.
You'd like to have it, if you
Oh,
hire
absolutely.
someone, you'd like to keep it in
Oh,
district?
absolutely.
Okay.
That should be consistent.
I don't think I have any problems with the bid as it stands right now. It's just not having the information that I thought we would have to make this decision is kind of annoying.
So I have two things. Number one is, one of the reasons we're really adamant about keeping the good people that work for us is that they have pensions and, their time served and to go over to another company, they would lose all of that. So I think that's what's really important to the committee is there are a lot of them are parents over there, or they were parents, or they're people in the community. And so it's important I think that's just so important in a community school. My concern with when we vote is if we come back a year from now, are we going to get another say in this to make sure that we can advocate one way or the other? Do you know what I mean? Like right now we're involved and I'm just worried, I'm really worried about this piece right here. I just think that it's important. One of the reasons that people stay in these schools is because of the community, because of the feeling of home. And we obviously can't provide what Whitson's can provide. So it's wonderful that you can come in, but I feel like it has to be a mix of the two. Or it should be just.
If this goes through, Lori, what I would suggest is that Whitson's comes back again and we put together a plan with the school committee of what you would want to happen in a more formal way. To Mike's point, if that discussion happened, I have to tell you, it's not anything in the minutes. I don't recall that comment. It isn't that it didn't happen or was said, for example, things that were said, but I think we have to formalize what we do going forward, and these kinds of discussions are great to have, but in the end, planning for this in a more formal manner is going to help keep everybody on track and keep clear and have all of this clean if we do that for next year, a formal evaluation process, surveys and so on. And I question that too, as far as if we postpone this vote until the 23rd. I think we were just talking about if we're going to have them. I mean, Megan had just talked about not having a meeting. I did want to bring that up in my report. If we have it on the 23rd, I just want to make clear what information would matter to you to make a change in your decision, so I can try to put that together. I can't guarantee I will be able to put that together by the 23rd. I will do my best, but I'm not here next week.
All right, so you know what?
It's like really hard for me to
Let's
do
vote, let's vote now. And if you want to vote against it, then you vote against it, and we'll see if it passes, because I feel like very mixed feelings.
I think
Yeah,
if perhaps the motion could include that when the contract comes up for renewal, that we have survey data to review, that we have staff give opinions on their experience and whether they support that renewal.
Parents and kids
Yeah,
feedback.
parents and kids, yeah, because
Teachers feedback, you know, are they seeing an improvement in their classroom behavior issues because of the better food?
I agree, so maybe we put a note in the motion.
Julie agrees.
But anything like that.
But stipulate it in the motion, that's a good idea.
But teachers would know better than you or I would.
Yeah, so this year the principals can work, or Whitson's or whoever is in charge of that can work to try to gather that data, the cafeteria staff.
Peanut gallery over there.
And, all right, let's vote.
So it will, the contract begins July 1st and ends June 30th. So I think within the motion, we probably want that data before our last school committee meeting in June.
I will add that the renewals have a due date every year with DESI that's usually around the end of April.
So it'll need,
It's
so
gonna be
we'll
on
have,
this timeline.
it'll be this time, so we'll want the data in February of 2025. For our February meeting, so that we can vote in March, or our March meeting, so we can vote in April. All right? All right, so, could I, where am I? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the awarding of the food service company bid to Whitson's with the stipulation that the school district and Whitson's must provide specific data to the school committee by March of 2025, such as feedback from parents and students and teachers and
the committee will be involved in the decision next year.
and staff, and the committee will be involved in the decision for the next bid. Did you get all that?
I don't think it would be a bad idea also if Rob or whoever's going to, I'm imagining Rob will still be here as the director in this area,
Yeah.
to come in and give regular reports to the school committees before March. I think he should come to at least some of the meetings in the fall and to the winter.
June.
That's it.
And the June.
All right, Mike moved to the motion.
Oh, second.
All right, Laurie, second. Any more discussion?
Just before we do vote, just general nod of the head in the back, you're in favor or absolutely against? All right.
Glad you guys came and had your voices heard. I think that's important.
Appreciate that. Thank you. That's nice.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm an aye as well. That motion passes. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Feel free to take off. Thank you, guys. Feel free to.
Thank you.
All right, and up next is going to be, we're gonna bang through these principal reports, and then we'll talk about school choice. Everyone's gonna bring up their school choice.
Megan,
You guys gone?
Oh, students, all right. You guys wanna go on now? You just broke, so you get to go home? I'm sure you do. All right, so I'm sorry. What are your names? Ben and Sadie, okay. So we have Ben and Sadie here next. We'll do that next so they can, that's perfect timing. And they're gonna talk about their senior field trip overnight to Great Wolf Lodge that we will be voting on. Are you ready? Yep. All right, Sadie and Ben, take it away.
Yeah.
Right to that.
We printed out, so I know you guys got these in the form that we initially sent, but I updated them a little bit more in depth. So if you guys want to like pass one on, it's just a little bit more in depth with like the price distributed, getting the price distributed to between our class fund and then to students. And then also like chaperones are listed, and so is the information on our commission.
Do you guys want to present, or do you want us to just ask you questions?
Questions are good.
I
Yeah.
don't want to put you on the spot. Yeah,
I mean, our field trip is gonna be, May 29th to May 30th, so it's a Wednesday and a Thursday. Students will arrive at Great Wolf Lodge at 4 p.m. and then they will be dismissed the next morning at 10 a.m. and then they will have to report right back to the school that morning, for graduation practice. So students will go there, sleep over, spend their time at Great Wolf Lodge and then come back right away. We are not providing busing, so students will have to provide their own transportation. We're sending out permission slips, and on the permission slip, it's going to be stated that you will provide your own transportation to and from the event, and parents will have to sign off on that. If they're not signed off on, then they do not attend the field trip. So yeah, and we have 3 teacher chaperones lined up so far, and then we also have a parent. It was kind of cloudy on how many we were gonna need for an overnight, so we have 3 teachers confirmed, and then we can get more parents that are coordinating or more teachers if necessary.
All right, great. Does anyone have any questions? Sounds like fun.
I just have one.
Go ahead,
What made
Julie.
you pick that?
That was all him.
Great spot.
Well, it's gonna be super fun.
The weather will be nice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That was one big
I mean, it's
thing.
all contained. It's actually, if you think about it, it's kind of a brilliant idea because it's all contained in the building. Go ahead, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
We have a lot of people, a lot of students wanting a like outdoor to like a beach trip. And that kind of is hard to plan for May. You don't really know what the weather's gonna look like. So we thought that this was kind of a big compromise. We also wanted to do it overnight, so it's kind of like everything that we really wanted.
Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
I do want to say to all of you, so, you know, when I was hearing about this, I was feeling a little parenty, like, but I did come to their meeting when they've been planning this out and listen to everything, and they're very responsible. I respect you all, and I know that you're going to make good choices. You are kind of leading the way in something like this. For a senior trip that's an indoor overnight kind of experience. I know other districts do that, but you're kind of, I think, the first at least to do this. So I would just ask you, and know you will lead the way with all good things happening and being responsible and respectful as you go there and representing us, the district.
How many graduating members in the class? Or members of the
75, right?
Or maybe about 80.
80?
I think it's 80 or it's between 75 and 80.
36 are going.
Yeah, so why only, not even half the classes go?
People think they're too cool for it, honestly, I think. Mostly.
Do you think more people will sign up as it gets closer to the date?
We already planned out and like we asked if they had like 2 weeks to sign up to go or not. And I think the main thing was that we came up with this idea. We had a good amount of people saying that they would want to go. And when we asked if people had other ideas, especially people who didn't want to go on this trip, they didn't really have any ideas that were like some people were saying a trip to Florida or something like that. So.
There's definitely plenty of opportunity to sign up, and I gave people opportunity to there was a form, people said no on the form, I gave them the opportunity to come talk to me, and I changed a bunch of people's decisions.
It sounds like you've got some stories behind that.
Yeah. There's definitely plenty of opportunity for people who want to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Historically, probably not all students go on the senior trip, right?
No. I've heard in past years, I know last year, there was a good amount of kids that didn't go. I know I've had some friends who graduated last year who didn't go on the senior trip. And it's unfortunate. I mean, we want everyone to go, but we also know that we can't please everyone. We haven't been able to in the last 2 years.
People who want to go also.
Yeah. So.
Are senior trips usually overnight? Are senior trips usually overnight?
This is a trailblazer event.
Right.
And not in this district. There, other districts do overnights.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm in favor of you guys going, but less than half the class is participating. You're asking for school committee approval because it's an overnight trip. You're doing private transportation. We have specific policies around private transportations. Do you know what they are?
Can't drive with people,
Yep.
can't carpool it.
Yep. Need permission, insurance, all that.
Yep.
I don't know. Less than half the class, that sucks.
So, and I think it is a hurdle and it's something that the students and I have been talking about over the past couple of years. is how to engage, students in general, how to get them more involved with one another. And that is a difficult hurdle, and it's one that it's challenging. Because the dynamics of how we socialized growing up is very different from the dynamics that they're socializing. It's also the timing, to be quite honest with you. It is an overnight trip, and at this point, it's the week before graduation, and people are like, my job is ramping up, they're working, they can't take that much time off, so that it might be a factor in that people are working. So it's a little bit more complicated than we all might think, and it's a challenge. And you will never, as you have found out, you will never please all the people all the time.
I also think that if we tried to plan something new now, that it wouldn't probably be as good, it'd probably be less, less.
You have put a lot of thought and work into putting together this trip.
And I think too, sometimes it takes, the first year, maybe the numbers aren't gonna be 90%, but as, the students know there's a senior trip and it's an overnight, then it starts to grow, I think.
So $1,600 of the total cost is coming from the class funds?
Yes.
The people that aren't going there, they're cool with that, the parents that help fundraise for that, they're cool with that?
Yeah, the students are aware that a portion of it's gonna be paid through class funds, and then each student who's attending will be getting $75. And that was detailed when we had to sign up.
Because we've had issues recently with fundraising and parents and not being happy with the way the money was being spent. So I just want to make sure everybody's knows going in.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
I feel like the participation in fundraisers from our class is extremely disappointing. That not a lot of people are willing to, certainly people aren't volunteering to help in the fundraisers. Like maybe their parents are going to the car wash, but there's never people who are trying to come up to us and volunteer during things. That's unheard of in our class.
Yeah, we hosted a talent show last year that we ended up getting around a little bit over $1,000 from, but that was basically run by me and the other officers. We had like maybe 2 students that are our close friends that helped with like the lighting, and that was it. So we tried our best. I also, this will be after the school year because it's after graduation and stuff like that, but I've also brought up to members who aren't attending the trip that they can plan, they're free to plan something like a beach trip. I know a lot of them want to do that. And if you plan a beach trip in late June, early July, where the weather's nicer and you can kind of pick your day, I encourage them to do that. I encourage them to let the students know and be like, this can be the trip for you guys. If you guys want to go on this, or this can be like the final end of the thing after graduation to see each other one more time. So I've been trying to please both sides of it, I guess.
I want to say, I love the idea, because I think of senior year as like, it's like you have one foot in each world, do you know what I mean? And I think you're really celebrating the fun, and I love the idea of it being an overnight. We keep talking about how we want the kids off their cell phones, engaging with each other, this is 2 days. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I love how happy it is, and I love your presentation, your energy and your enthusiasm helps to really sell it too.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready to vote? Okay, could I please have a motion to approve the senior field trip, which is an overnight to Great Wolf Lodge?
So moved.
Sorry. Julie, was that you?
Just.
Oh, sorry, Jess. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, that motion passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Trailblazers.
Thank you.
Great job.
Have
Good
fun.
counsel.
Be safe.
Yeah, please be responsible. Cindy, you're up next. Hi. Cindy.
Wait for it to fly now. I was gonna throw out there,
Thank you.
and they said, they have a report, would you like questions, would you like to go over the report? I'm gonna talk about that, but I'm not gonna do that, I did a nice job. I do wanna, thank you for allowing me to share some of the amazing things that are going on at BES. I'm gonna highlight a few things and I'll open them up for questions. Number 1, EMCAS is going on in all 3 schools, but I'll talk about ELA.
So we had third grade last week, we had fifth grade the last 2 days, and we have fourth grade the next 2 days. We're hoping to finish all that before April vacation. Fingers crossed. We'll get through the sessions, but we do have some makeups for kids that have been out. Nature's Classroom fundraising is continuing on. I want to give you a heads up that next year I'm going to come to you in September to get that approved so we can start at the beginning of the year because it is quite substantial. We have some amazing parents, the students, and the 2 fifth grade teachers have really spearheaded this with the parents and the students to fundraise. We're not where we want to be, but we're plugging along. And then I want to talk about an enrichment piece because it kind of ties into the climate survey, which you also have the report on as well. We have some amazing staff that are trying to bring on that enrichment piece that it's not after school at this time. That's coming. I keep saying that, but it will be coming. The teachers are working on math during their lunch, recess time. Kids are coming in. And I just want to say, we started out in 4th and 5th grade, and now it's gone down to 2nd and 3rd grade. Joey Flournoy, did I say that right? I say that wrong. And Mrs. Lowe, the grade teacher, has been kind of spearheading that for 2nd and 3rd grade, which we're hoping to branch upon that. And that ties into our climate survey because I just wanted to talk about one of the areas that we know at BES we need to work on. And it was 74.4% about us providing interest for our students. So there was a couple places on there, but this is an area we need to improve upon. So that was on, let's see, BES provides quality activities that meet my students' interests and talents such as sports clubs and music. And we only hit 74.4%. That's low, so we want to work on that. So now I'm going to open it up to any questions about the climate.
Yeah, your school choice recommendations.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So you have that as well. Currently, we have 2 spots. One is filled. This was filled before my time. When that child came in last year, there was another spot opened up. So we still have that spot because the child that was in the other spot moved. So I don't think that spot went away. We didn't close it. We just didn't fill it. So if you're looking at my report, the 2nd grade, we have 3 classrooms, a total of 47. That is the one grade where we have a little space, and I say little because I'm still very concerned about that apartment building at the end of the We do not have the notes for that. So there is one already there that's existing, is what I consider existing, and we have space to bring someone else in there. The one child that's already there has a sibling coming into K. I thought about this long and hard and talked about it with Carol. To me, if you have a sibling there already and you have a child coming in, you have to look at that. Any questions about that? The rest of the grades, I would not open them up. And I'm very hesitant about kindergarten. Don't know our kindergarten numbers. We have a prediction right now.
Is the kindergarten, if you open the one for the kindergarten, Carol and I talked about this, is it guaranteed to go to that sibling? Because what if you open it up and it's a lottery and like 10 people apply and then the sibling doesn't get it?
No, I think preference goes to the sibling.
Yes. Oh, all right. That's what I thought.
That's what I'm
We
saying.
read that, right?
We did, and,
Yes.
Yeah.
And it goes to staff,
right, and it's also
a teacher.
correct. That's, so it's 2 things.
Yep, all right. I'm fine with that. Does anyone have anything to, all right. Sorry, Cindy. Did you have anything else to
Okay,
say?
we want to monitor those numbers. I was a kindergarten teacher prior, and we want to keep those numbers low. We really do. This year, 21 in there, that's to me is high. It's an unknown right now. We have 40 families that have expressed interest and through the, they started sending in their registration paperwork. Around this time, looking at last year, again, I wasn't here, so I could do some researching. We were at 40, 45 at the same time. We ended up at 63. So we really have to look at that. But I do think the sibling should be allowed in. Allowed to spot.
When are the apartments supposed to be opening?
They're renting right now.
The model is open.
I know the model is
Yeah.
open, but I didn't know.
Leasing now. They're open. It could be this school
It
year.
said, what was missing in the listing, did it say June 1st?
Regardless, it'll be
Before the
open
school year
for
starts.
next year.
Cindy, can I ask you one question? You explained the one new and one existing, but I apologize, I'm a little slow. For the grade 2,
Yes.
can you just explain that one more time?
So prior to this year, 2 spots were opened up.
So there's a child in that spot now, and there's one that moved. So that
Oh,
spot's
okay.
still there.
Gotcha.
I don't think it closes, I'm not sure about that.
Oh, yes, I
I see
know
what
what
you're saying now.
Yeah, there was a kid and then I remember
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Because that grade is smaller, yep. Okay, anyone have any questions for Cindy? All right, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Should we wait on the school choice until we have a
Yeah.
discussion on the vote? All right, the climate survey, the one you pointed out, I noticed that too. There's another one in here. A student feels safe from verbal abuse, teasing, and exclusion at school. Almost 20% disagree with that. That seems like a big number, especially, I know there's been some issues at that school. Last year, there was a potential hate issue. That seems like a big number for elementary school.
I agree. There are some areas in that climate survey we have to work on. I did bring it to my team of teachers. We've been breaking down each question and say, how can we grow with that? I brought it to my school council and got a lot of feedback from the parents that are on that as well. There's areas we have to improve. And to me, every single one of these questions should be in the 90s. That's what my goal is, higher in the 90s. And there's some we need to work on there.
I guess that's related to the one where the students don't feel that there's or feels that students who demonstrate inappropriate or disruptive behavior are not held accountable. About 20% also feel that.
Yep, and so we talked about that too. Some of that is from previous year, and some of that is when a student gets in trouble, it is confidential. There's a consequence with that student. So if somebody comes to me and says, I'll use John. John did this. And there's a consequence. I cannot tell that parent what that consequence was. I can say it's been taken care of, but I don't go into details. A lot of parents want those details.
Yeah, I understand that you can't go into details. It doesn't sound like this question is a question about details. I mean, if there's a kid with disruptive behavior, it's pretty well known. And if they're being held accountable, you would expect that disruptive behavior to calm down. Not necessarily. That's a typical Campbell move.
I'm gonna be honest, there are some behavioral concerns, but it's not destructive behavior at this point there. There's kids that act out occasionally, but they're not destroying property or anything like that.
So with these behavior issues, I know parts of the budget that either did get included or didn't get included would they have helped address that? Like I know recess aids, right? Is this just disruptive behavior at recess?
Recess aid, there was a 0.4 of an adjustment counselor.
Adjustment counselor, yeah.
So these made it in or these got cut?
No, these got cut.
Yeah, so these things got cut. They would have helped solve disruptive behavior issues, which 20% of the community feels are an issue. And we're not gonna have them. Okay.
All right, anything else?
I saw one of the items that, that parents didn't know what was going on in school or communication, and I, just from my perspective, like my child, first through fifth grade, different teachers would use apps and then some don't. And so you go from a year where you're getting posts and pictures like, oh, they did this experiment, which helps ask, like, not just how was your day, like, oh, you did this at school today. And then the next year, you get like one email for a month or two. So I wonder if there was any thought to all using that app or some collective agreement on how to communicate with parents.
That was brought up at our school council as well, as I asked for a little bit what they thought about that. And they said that the newsletter, the information that goes out is good. Where the inconsistency is with the teachers. That is something we started talking about with the teachers. We're a little hesitant making them all use the same thing. But as long as they communicate regularly is what we're going to be working on. And since this came out, I have asked them to share them with me if I wasn't receiving them. And there are going out, again, inconsistently, but we're gonna work on that because I think it should be, if not weekly, bi-weekly for them. Just let more we can let parents know, the families know more.
I mean, the open house, or not, it wasn't called open house.
Celebrational learning.
Yeah, was really nice because you could see and the kids could show off, and so it's nice to feel that you know what's going on 6 hours of the day.
We got a lot of good feedback for that as well.
Okay, anything else?
I'm just wondering, Is there any way to tell from the survey data if the people who said disagree and strongly disagree for, kind of consistently for a bunch of the questions, if they come from the same respondent, like without identifying who they were? Like, I'm just wondering, is there like a small disgruntled group?
I'm gonna be honest, when I first started getting the results, there was one always in the strongly, there in every category, there's a strongly disagree. I didn't collect emails, I collected, their grades.
Yeah.
What grades they were at. We did get a little, some parents reached out and said they wanted a narrative, and I didn't include that in this one. Going forward, we can try that. And the other thing that was brought up, which when we redo this, we'll get that a little bit more, is if they have more than one child in the school doing that. Now, they could have submitted more, but doing it separately, like one child they might agree with something and the other one they might not, so we wanted to have that variance as we asked for. So we plan to do this again next year with the feedback just to see if we can grow. There's always room to grow.
There's one other question, sorry. In the DMS report, they mentioned how many was going to go to Nature's Classroom, the participation level. Do you have that for both of you?
I do not have that yet. We're pretty high. I don't have the exact number yet, but I can get that.
Okay. John?
Nature's Classroom Corinne started MCAS testing today. We're able to do all 3 grades all at once, so it goes a little faster for us. First day went very well. No Chromebooks for student flames. There were other schools.
Children. I didn't have that at school.
It happened in, I forget, it's in southern district of where? Uxbridge. First student flames, that's.
Exactly.
Earthquake, solar eclipse. Earthquake, solar eclipse.
We're just, it's the end of the
You're
world.
doing okay.
School choice, no thank you. Given the size of our building, the size our classes are growing to now, we just can't accommodate as much as I have enjoyed that in the past. And then in terms of the survey, we had some similar scores, we had some different scores. One of the ones that surprised me was I had the information I need to support my students learning at home. 78.2% agree or strongly agree. Now, part of the problem was, it was one of the only questions where you could say neither. And there was like 10% that said that, and that was just a typo, I should have taken that out. But it was interesting because people say they're not sure they had the information, but then they feel like they can support their kid at home with the information that they just told me they don't have. So we got to poke more at that one. We also had around those behavior things, and Cindy and I talked about those behavior numbers. We kind of had the same feeling. When something happens to your kid, you want to see action. And sometimes that's just not possible. What's nice, I think, in Berlin, because the school is so small, is that parents find out. They hear about it. Other kids will come home, oh, John got in trouble today. But it's still an area of concern. It's one of those things where you're always kind of looking to further establish trust. Because I've had this experience, well, Mr. Campbell, I'm not happy with what you're telling me, but I'll do what you say. And that's always a blessing. So yeah, there are a couple of things that we want to further look at. Communication I thought was interesting as well. People expressed some discomfort with that, which surprised me because my teachers already do send me their.
It's because you don't update the subject line on your emails, John.
I know. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for embarrassing me again. Yes, occasionally I will copy my emails and forget the subject. It's not even occasionally lately. It's like
No, it's every time.
It's really bad. But it does go out.
You're winning there.
I'm winning there. But that's still something. And I think part of that is, one of the nice things about a survey like this is you can go back to teachers and you can say, this is what parents are saying. Whether it's, their perception or it's, you've got a problem, there's something we have to do to better clear our communication style. I send stuff out all the time, correct label or not, but I'm always amazed at, well, what about this, or what about that? It's been in 3 emails. I think people open emails and like they'll read them, but I don't think they retain them. So
Right.
that's me. Questions, concerns? Mean comments about my emails?
I like your emails, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Top.
Okay, Lisa? So down to highlights. So this has been a difficult month, and I think that I can say that I'm very incredibly proud of our crisis response team for showing, as I wrote in the report, swift, compassionate, and effective coordination of all kinds of resources. I have to thank the community, both Cindy and John allowed their staff to come over and support our staff and students, and as well as an additional staff member. We had Clinton High School send over one of their adjustment counselors, and then Shrewsbury High said that they could support us with 2 adjustment counselors as needed. This is something that rocks the foundation of any school community and continues to, and that ongoing support and ongoing understanding of what's needed for our students is continually being assessed and looked at. We did receive a lot of support from the Riverside Trauma Center, who continues to be a touch point for all of us. We've all mentioned MCAS, those are continuing at Honto. We finished 6th and 7th grade. We are moving on to 8th grade ELA. Carol and I had a nice event. We both escorted one of our students, Shoyamin, to the Worcester County Superintendent's Scholar Award, and that was really spectacular to see so many young people doing such a wide range of amazing things, and really to see one of our students excelling. It was a very proud moment for both of us, but I think for himself and for his family as well. Emerson did a wonderful job kind of highlighting our athletics and, kind of upcoming events. I will identify that probably one of the happiest moments in March was the performance of Disenchanted that had happened. That was a wonderful reflection of student creativity and the commitment of Mr. Hager and Mr. Gallant to put that production forward and really involve so many wonderful young people. Hopefully it's a growing program, and it really is a wonderful asset to our community. The student showcase, we were talking about this, and I have received a lot of just feedback, informal feedback that particularly at the middle school level, families seem to enjoy this venue, this opportunity to experience what's happening in classrooms much better than the previous open house. So that led to a conversation that we just had today, that the middle school really, they felt this format. So we're going to really, it is a wonderful opportunity to say, okay, so what have we been doing? What have we tried? What's going to work better? So perhaps using a student showcase format where you're partnering with your child to come into to do it, that model for our open house, as well as a later, a work showcase. So using that information, because I think families appreciated the time to spend in the school. As far as our school choice, when I first put out the report, I was doing the current enrollment with grades 6 through 12 as they were seeing, and I do apologize about that. So I did put in for FY25 the new requested numbers. So I went into Power School and pulled the numbers for the current fifth grade, which would equal 75 for our incoming sixth graders. So right now, just so you know that it is, when you're at this time of year, you're concurrently working with this year's numbers and next year's numbers. So you're constantly kind of flipping in between we're living in and what we will be living in. And so what we will be living in is that we will have 75 students in sixth grade. So if we wanted to open up 5 spots, that would bring us to a total of 80. That we've seen the trend. And so in my report, you'll see a number, which is for the total. There will be a total number and then a number in parentheses that is highlighted. I don't know if it comes through in the report, but the parentheses highlighted number is the total number with the existing plus the school choice number added to it. So that's what those two numbers reflect. So I would say that there would be 5 spots for sixth grade, but no school choice for 7, 8, or 9. And then for 10th grade, we could have 4 spots, 11th grade, 5 spots. 12th grade, we have the space, and so I put in 5. For 12th grade, it really isn't something I recommend. Although there's space, having someone school choice in as a senior is something that you want to pause, because they're not in for the long haul. So I would pause on that number, but I wanted to present, we would have space for that. So this is what we would have space for. So my proposal would be we have space for 5 in next year's 6th grade, 4 in next year's 10th grade, 5 in next year's 11th grade. We have space in 12th grade, but I actually, in good faith, can't recommend school choice numbers for 12th grade. It doesn't feel comfortable for me.
Would that possibly be like kids coming from a bad situation?
It could be. There's so many. I think the variations that you see school choice at grade 12, I think there's a lot of variation that you would see, the reasons why a student, and we're really not, we're not allowed to do background, so that is why I would pause, because there's such a wide variety, whereas the natural kind of enrollment would be at 6th grade and then either at 8th or 9th grade. Mm-hmm. So that's when school choice numbers tend to be for students who are making a really conscientious effort to, this is where we want to be for the long haul. That's what I've seen in the past.
Just had a clarifying question. So the 6th grade numbers, I thought for some reason the number was much higher on a projected report, maybe in the budget report.
Yes, so it was. So these are the actual
Okay.
numbers. So I am giving all in my report, because those were from the budget report.
Okay.
So in this report, all these numbers are coming from our Power School of currently enrolled students. Okay. So these are the actual numbers. So the projected 6th grade for Tohoto would be 75. In the budget report, you would have seen the 96, which I think was just it's taken from this, like, I think it was just like, it was doubled. I think it was, that line was taken and
all
then
those numbers doubled.
No, I think the budget includes out of district and.
No, she's talking about FY '25.
FY '25. It's
But
not
that's
out of
it.
district. It's just it's the enrollment projection slide. And it's.
That's
All right, so
Yeah.
these numbers are what we're looking at for school choice. All right, so if you guys want to talk about school choice, go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, but wait, I'm just so confused though still. This- I get that point.
Okay.
However, in the enrollment history, what we have in our budget report, these dates back to FY '17.
Right.
All the way up through FY '24.
Mhm.
Our FY '24 numbers
Mhm.
are not those are significantly lower. So for instance,
Okay,
if we take,
because I'm on that.
Okay, I
So
know,
your FY
okay, great.
25.
so
So,
look,
so it's, okay, so.
let me just give you an example.
Yeah.
That would be easiest. So if you guys don't have the thing in front of you, you won't know what I'm talking about, but, okay, so you look at FY '24.
Yep.
Right, look at the current grade 7, 83 kids,
Yes.
right? Now we look at this chart, that would be projected 8th grade kids.
So it's
And it
71 on
says
this.
71, so
But
wait,
this, Julie, it's.
71, correct me if I'm wrong, 71 is the Berlin-Boylston kids. 14 are the existing school choice kids from other towns.
so,
5 or 0 in that case is
So
your
85.
requested new.
So 83, so you're right.
okay, so
these two
eight-
together.
83 to 85.
We have
Okay.
85 current
Okay.
7th graders, so that number.
Did you scroll down to the bottom? Yeah.
So it is, so, yeah, so that's 95. So if you're looking at the wrong column. So that's 95 from 7.
Am I correct on that, Lisa?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
yeah,
So it's 90, it is, I see how it is now.
83, 83, okay.
All right, anyone else? Mike, did you have some questions
I
on
have a
school
lot of
choice?
questions about
All right,
school
go
choice.
ahead,
Is this
you
the
get
time to do
started.
it?
Yeah, this is the time for school choice and then we'll vote.
With all due respect to the parent who's here, who is school choice in the district, I just don't agree with these kinds of numbers for school choice. If you look at any one of these, 11th grade, currently 14 school choice, proposed an additional 5 more. That's 19 school choice kids to 61 Berlin-Boylston school choice kids. That's a third of the class.
Oh, I would prefer to have, I would.
I know you want more kids.
No. I actually, if it was me, I would say 0.
All the way. Okay, good, I agree with you. But
But I was
my,
asked, to, like, if I had to open it up.
so this is only space, this is not a request.
No, but it's giving us money.
Okay,
So that-
we'll
so
get to that.
That's
Sorry.
So I'm in between a rock and a hard place. Like, if it were me, I would say no for a lot of stabilization reasons, and not just because of, I'm unsure of how our staffing is gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm just.
But what
there's a lot of
we're voting on
unsure.
right now is based, my
Yeah.
understanding is based on these numbers in this page.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
voting on what we open up. We don't know
Yeah.
how many we'll actually get,
Right.
but I agree with you.
Right.
So
So,
I thought, my understanding though, with Mike, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
was that these numbers should be,
Yes, and I'm saying like, so, because I also know the hard place between, this is the rock, and then the hard
For
place
the
is
budget.
that, the budget,
the money,
the
yeah.
money.
Because if
So-
we don't open up any, then the
Then-
school choice revenue is the same, it's
Right.
not growing,
Then
and
that-
we're using it up.
Exactly. So for that reason, I am saying this is where I would be comfortable opening up spaces.
so that's your max, basically
Yes,
max.
That
Maximum,
would be
if we
my-
have to.
If we have to, that is my max where I would be. Does that
So
make
we're not
sense?
jumping up to 90 kids in the class. Right?
Yeah.
So my opinion on school choice, in this case, so I'm just gonna use these numbers. If we were to approve this number of 5 additional spots, that's 19 students who are school choice students versus 61 students in that class who are Berlin-Boylston residents. That's a third of the class,
What class are you talking about?
11th grade on this page, grade 11. 61, 14, 5, 75, 80. That's a third of the class
Yeah.
who come in 11th grade. We're not with these kids from kindergarten on, from 6th grade on. It's a third of the class that Berlin and Boylston taxpayers are paying for. I mean, like it or not, they're paying for it in some way. I know the argument is, well, the money's already there, the teacher's already there, we have the space, we can accept it. But every time you accept that, we also have, in any class, in any subject, when we see these MCAS reports come in, we have anywhere from 20 to 60% of the kids who are struggling, right? However you want to call it, they're struggling, who could use that extra attention. Every school choice student that we bring in, just the dirty facts of the way it works, it takes attention from the teachers away from the kids who are struggling, who the taxpayers are paying for. If we were getting $20,000 per, if we were getting $20,000 per school choice, that can help the budget. We get 5 and it's gonna be 5 forever, or whatever the number is now. Is it still 5?
It's 5.
Yeah, it's 5.
It's from the state, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you look here, you've got roughly a third of each of these graduating classes. And when it comes to seniors, I absolutely agree with Lisa. I mean, you know, if this were a for-profit enterprise or a college and we can go out and recruit kids and we can get kids who are gonna be in AP classes and are gonna be on sports and are gonna help us build those programs, that's a different story. But we don't know what we're gonna get. We might get those, we might not get those. We might get kids who come in and they need additional services. Additional services that are gonna far outstrip $5,000. So that's my philosophy on school choice, and it's not personal. I all due respect to the parent that's here.
Mine's already here.
What's that?
Mine's already here.
You're good. All right. That's just my personal opinion on it for the taxpayers of the town. We're already asking them for a lot for the kids that are here. That's just $5,000 is gonna make it move.
I want to piggyback on what you said. I've always been a pretty big supporter of school choice because I know it's what allows us to have more programs, more classes, we have smaller classes. My concern right now, and I'm feeling like maybe it's a school choice freeze for now, we're in the only state in the union that has a law that anybody that comes to this state gets housing. If you are considered homeless, you are, allowed to come to the schools. And I'm not here to debate that. My concern is you have students that are coming in that probably don't speak the language of our country. At some point, are those school choice positions going to be opened up to students who may not speak the language, may not be in this area, may be from another town, but are now being bussed in? And now we have this huge expense of trying to educate them, and that's going to pull from the education of our students that are here. I just feel like we're in a very tentative time right now, and to not look at the elephant that's in the room, that might be very, very costly. And I'm not talking, I'm talking, if you just look at it from the amount of money that we're gonna get, what are we spending, like $18,000 a student?
Average per pupil's expense,
And
it's about 18,000.
and that's someone who, can speak the language.
It's just average, yeah.
It's just, so you're already at a deficit of 13,000. Now you get someone in who, might speak, let's say you get 10 kids in and they speak 6 different languages. How do you, we are supposed to educate our children to the best of our ability. And my concern is that we'd be pulling from what our students have right now, the very little money that we have that we're getting by. We've already talked about things that we've cut that are going to affect the schools as far as just all different things.
We did cut ELL, did we?
No.
We just didn't increase it.
Didn't
But we- I don't-
wanted
yeah.
to increase it, but we
The
didn't.
things that would have helped.
So
that
we cut
couldn't.
it from the proposal, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's my concern. My concern is we're sitting in a really, we're in unprecedented times. And so I'm feeling like it's a time where we need to hesitate and not always do what we've done and really just consider the cost and the impact of that before we make a decision.
I think also like the apartments at Sewell Street, I mean, that's a lot of units that could move in with teenagers and.
And I did look up, they're available June 1st. So that's well in advance of school.
2
Yeah.
vendors?
There's studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom.
And I agree with you, like, I think when not to overgeneralize, but like I think about who's moving into apartments, it's probably people that got divorced. They might have older children, they're right here, the school is close, they're commuting, they're professionals, they're expensive, they're
Very expensive.
Yeah, you could have a huge influx of children, both for BDS and Tohoto. So I mean, if I'm not opposed to approving 0 school choice across the board, except for maybe the 1 kindergarten spot at
being in real estate.
BES.
You're never gonna know the students until the lease is signed. So even if they say they're going to cap it at however many children,
Yeah, they're not.
until they move in, you don't know because
have
you're not
no
allowed
idea.
to ask.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a crapshoot there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Lisa, what do you think?
I think you make a great point.
Yeah.
And I think we should be concerned about that.
What about Julie?
This is a hard conversation to have because we were here last year, we did the same thing. And I brought up, why don't we do exit interviews on the kids that leave? And so we have no understanding of why kids are leaving.
We need to
Here
do
we
that,
are
Julie.
again,
Yes.
wondering about what we should do for school choice numbers without any understanding about why our kids are leaving. But yeah, we can look at the enrollment history and the numbers are alarming from 6 to 12. But yeah, we don't have any data to support why that happens.
We have been asking for that since Jeff was here.
Yep, we haven't.
So I think that needs to be an initiative, if possible, by the district. And again, I don't know if it probably should come from Tohoto. And maybe one of the assistant principals, maybe the middle school assistant principal that should be something that person owns. And, if there's children that are exiting in middle school or in high school, I think it's usually like between 8th and 9th, right?
Yeah, and like Mike's point about, even Lisa's point, in 11th and 12th grade, you generally probably don't get kids coming in, right, school choice. I mean, it's gotta be low, or,
Right.
yeah. But if we could, talk about those two kids who are here talking about it, that they have half their class going on this senior trip. But if you can build a community in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that's where you have to build it.
Julie,
That's where
I'm with you,
have to
I'm
build
with
it.
you on that.
So by
I
us
do.
saying no to all these school choice numbers in 6th, 7th, 8th, I think that's a mistake.
But how do you
You
build
build
a
it there.
local,
She doesn't
how do you
have
build a
any
local
sources.
program?
The only ones
Yeah,
that I.
we're only talking about high school.
Zero.
Only in
five,
the-
six.
she doesn't
No,
have
but I'm saying, okay,
Julie, you had
Middle
half,
school
not
does
even half the
recommend
senior
7th,
classes
none
going on this
grade.
trip.
right?
None for 8, none for
She already says none for 7 or 8.
Right, none for 7.
I do.
That's my point. I could see 7 because you have 95.
I think that number's gonna change. I just want to put that out there. that
7 is
We
gonna
do
go
lose
up.
kids in 7th grade,
Of course,
and we're going to
yes.
lose some because of the private schools now having a middle school option from
Mm-hmm.
7 to 12.
Correct,
There's going to be a good handful of these 6th graders that go off to St. John's.
correct.
And then again, we lose them 8th to 9th as those 9th graders either go on to, larger high schools, for more sports and academic opportunities. But I think, really collecting that data rather than, I have a lot of informal data, you know what I mean? But, and I do have those conversations already, so I would be comfortable with making something, a standard kind of data, template for that. I think that would be important to also hear from the parents, right? I think that's a really important piece.
Right, exactly, yeah.
No, I'm with you. You have to build that community 6, 7, 8. But the class that was just here tonight, not even half of them are going on the senior trip. You're not going to improve that by school choice. You're going to improve that by what you want, more opportunities, more clubs, more classes. We don't know why they're leaving. There might be nothing we can do about it. There might be something we can do about it. Until we know what it is, we can't make a decision.
We can, well, I have 4 kids in the district that are in 10th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. I know why all their friends are leaving.
Okay, why are they
A lot of
leaving?
those numbers.
Why are they leaving?
It's sports.
So let's
like
just
Lisa
become
said,
a
better
sportsman.
opportunity. We don't have a lot of club offerings here after school.
Alright.
We don't have clubs after school. They run during lunches because we can't run them after school because sports starts after school. There's a host of reasons people are leaving.
So how does school choice fix that?
I don't necessarily know that school choice necessarily fixes that, but it creates a bigger number. It's a better opportunity for kids. Because then you have more kids participating in the drama.
So if we approve the number that you want to approve, whatever that number is, I don't know, don't tell a number, don't say a
No,
number.
I don't even have a number.
If we approved a number,
Yeah,
you're telling me this time next year, those clubs and sports and classes will exist and we'll be on our way to improving.
no,
I
I don't
think everybody
necessarily
over on
think
this
that.
side
I
of the
think
table
that's
will
a
probably say
bigger,
no.
that's a bigger conversation. I think sports needs to be pushed back. I think the clubs need to start from 2:15 to.
I think that's a different conversation.
It is a different conversation.
Yeah. School choice.
You're 100% right, but if we continue to just say, it's okay, we're gonna just let these kids go.
No, it's not okay. We've been asking for this data on exit interviews for 3 years.
Well, I don't know. I think 90 is a good number in that middle school. Obviously, you're over in some of those classes, but to not have 90 in middle school when you know these kids are going to be leaving.
90
It's a tough
Berlin
roll of
Boylston
dice.
kids would be awesome. 40 Berlin
You'd have-
Boylston
you'd have
kids
middle
and
school sports
50
teams.
out-of-town kids is not awesome. And it's not fair to the taxpayers.
What percentage did you say?
I don't know, I just made up random numbers,
Oh.
40 and 50.
Well, that's not gonna
Because
work.
we don't have that data,
Yeah, they have it there.
you want 90, all right, so you want 90 kids in every grade.
So you have 13% of the current eighth grade are school choice. That's a pretty low number.
I think it's high.
I don't know.
14 out of 71.
13%, yeah.
I'm curious, for like AP classes and stuff, is there a minimum to hold a class?
We have to get school committee approval that, the enrollment is 5 or,
Under 5.
like under 5, right?
Okay, so do you guys want to vote on school choice now?
I'm curious, like, is there, for when kids enroll in other schools, is there any sort of like deadlines for those schools that we know, so at that point we know better numbers of who's leaving?
I mean, there are deadlines, but I haven't gotten anything official.
That would be part of an exit.
We haven't.
For school choice, you mean, you mean if kids are going to private school?
Right.
Yeah, like school
Oh.
usually opens their enrollment in January.
Yeah.
And usually they need their numbers by March. That working in also in the private school, system at different places, it doesn't then necessarily mean that they're cutting off in March. But people start that application piece in January, and that's why we really wanted to make sure we start having those nights. We pushed up our nights for high school, right, to, the kind of the informal session, those pieces, to get that information out there and what Tohoto can offer. We pushed that up a bit. Yeah, I mean, I think something also to realize, and I don't know what those trends look like over the years, but something to think about as I have a junior in high school myself, right? These numbers of high school, this projection of the senior class and our junior class here, not feeling maybe as settled as a community really goes back to what we went through with COVID. So many of our students, my daughter, I live in West Boylston, she goes to St. Bernard's High because there was no school, right, in public schools, right? I mean, so there's a lot of kids right now in our high schools that are either school choice or transient or have gone somewhere else and then just kind of stayed there, right? So I think it's going to be really good data over the next couple of years to take. And then really, I do think this middle school piece, having those senses of community, seeing what we can offer for them in middle school so they want to stay as a group, not leave their friends, not leave their community for high school is extremely important. And I would just ask, I'm very comfortable doing, those exit interviews with the families, but just really making sure that we're getting the data that you want, right? So thinking about some of those specific questions that you would like me to ask. I have some in mind, but I think that's important because we talk a lot about data and then we come to meetings and say, well, could we have that as well? Which so just taking some time to kind of think about what that is, because this will be the time, right? It's April, right? We're gonna know within a month or so, by June, if kids are not returning. And I already know certainly some boys that are heading to St. John's for 7th grade for various reasons, so.
And Max Academy, I know there's always, and 3 to 5 that go to Mass Academy, and that is the school associated with WPI, and that's a very small, very pointed, particular group of students who do that. And then they've been wanting to do that. There's no, I don't.
It's very elite too.
It's very elite, so.
I mean, at this point, we don't know what data we don't know
Yeah.
or need, right? So we need to just, my first question is, why did you leave Tohoto? If it's for a trade, nothing we can do. Is it for sports? Maybe we can do something, maybe we can't. Is it for math, science, business?
Mhm.
We can probably do something for that. We can,
Culture, climate. there's so many things.
portrait to graduate, internship program. I mean, we probably need more internships with actual companies, but those types of things, Julie, is the program that's gonna build the homegrown, the organic growth in our own students. If we don't have those programs right now, there's other reasons why people would want a school choice to Tohoto. What are those? I don't know, but they're not, if you want to build sports, we don't have the sports.
I want to build the arts program.
Okay, you want to build the sports and arts. We don't have those right now. So logic would say a kid's not school choicing to Tohoto to take art or sports because we don't have them.
Well, no, we do, but oftentimes the numbers prohibit.
I understand we have sports. I walk by a trophy case outside.
Right, yeah.
I know we have art. But the point, like, you're trying to build a program, you have to build it from within. You can't build it by trying to convince people to come here and then don't give them what they are looking for.
You also have no idea for school choice who you're gonna get, so you can't.
Yeah, but we have a lot of school choice kids that are high performing.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure they are.
Great
You
athletes. and are
Yes,
doing
I'm
great
sure.
there.
It's just the same thing as, people from the town. You have no idea who's gonna come up and play sports, or who's gonna do drama, or who's gonna do nothing, or who's gonna need services, or you have no idea.
So if we are going to vote, Lisa, my understanding was these are requests, but you're saying that's something different.
No,
What you just said, you would request zero.
These are requests. Because I think, my understanding is this is what I was asked to do. So I looked at the numbers, and these are what I view as being the available space in the grade levels that I identified.
Yeah, you were
5 and
asked to
6.
give the available space, but this isn't necessarily what you think is
Right.
what we want. That's what I
She said she
heard.
doesn't.
That's what I heard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just ask let me just ask this. Why would we do 5 and 12 and none in 8?
Because I think that 95, 85, and 89 are for 7, 8, and 9, I think those are good numbers that we can manage. I think 95 is actually a lot of kids, but I mean, and I
So
don't
I guess my
think,
question
like
is-
12 would really, I mean, at the 12th grade, I mean, I put 5 in there because, I mean, we could have 5, but are we really gonna get 5?
Yeah, I don't see any point for
And-
any in 12.
Right.
Maybe 1.
Right.
Yeah.
9.
But I would just shift the numbers up to your middle level.
But no, I, like, that doesn't work.
But she's saying that's
We
too
have to-
much.
There's no space.
There's no space.
How is this space, this is my question.
Because we're not
How do you
Lowell.
space for
We're
95
not
and
Boston.
7,
We're
but
not a big
85 and
school.
8?
Because it's like a little Rubik's Cube of, we're shifting resources for those kids.
I don't
you know,
understand.
At the 85,
It's for the teachers in the
It's
classes.
for the teachers in the
Some
classes
teachers
and
teach
like
cross
elective
grades.
classes and, right,
But
exactly.
you'd still have, doesn't matter, you'd still have 20, 20, 20, 20, or 22, 22, 22, 22.
I think 80 is your ideal.
Yeah.
80s, and I don't know for
80
class.
It'd be between 80 and 85.
For this building.
For this building.
Julie, we are not a big town. We're a
I
small
understand
town.
that.
Well, in this building, we've
Never
already
been.
talked about space issues in this building. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't even have the whole senior class and even park the cars here. It's
What is
not even
that?
70
What is that?
questions to us.
Well, that's a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
What?
No, I'm with you.
Can I make one comment to it? It's something
I'm
I wanted to
ready
say
to vote.
earlier, and it's very positive, and I feel like it
Question.
just needs to be said.
And then we're gonna vote.
You noted that at the middle school, there was so much participation with the parents that showed
The
up.
light is young.
And that gives me hope, because that shows a cultural shift here, that shows that the parents, and I think the reason maybe the high school didn't is because when we used to get here in 6th grade, it used to be like, okay, thank you, like the kids are on their own now, and that was just the way it was. But now it's like, okay, your kids, please come in, we want you to see what we're doing, we want you to know, and I think that's really important that the community is involved. And I'm hoping that that's gonna shift as time goes on to the upper grades, and maybe it'll be a different model, I don't know. But that to me says that you guys have done a lot of work, and the teachers have done a lot of work to get the parents and the students interested in coming in and showing off their work. And so I just want to applaud you for that, because that's huge. I mean, wonderful, thank you.
All right, we're gonna vote on school choice.
I just have one more thing to say.
Go ahead, last thing.
I just think it's a
Oh,
tough
yeah,
pill to
you guys
swallow.
have 2 minutes. We're not gonna be here for
I
3
just
hours
think
tonight. It's not happening.
Megan,
I don't know.
can I
Okay.
say something, Megan?
Yes.
You've been rushing this whole meeting. We meet once a month on the whole friggin' school district. Stop rushing us through the information that we need. You talk to these guys one-on-one every day. You know what's going on. The other 5 of us don't. Stop rushing us. We'll take the time that we need.
Okay. Gentle.
All right.
Um,
I'm curious with the numbers, so I mean, we're concerned about the Sewell Street construction, right? We don't think 12th graders, maybe not 11th graders. I mean, do we think because
there's that such. Would your preference be 0 across the board?
I think my preference, I'm worried about the I really am worried about the building. I'm worried about the, I don't know what that's gonna do. So we could say, well, we're voting, and then we have 80 for the sixth grade, and then all of a sudden, we get 12 to 15 kids from the apartments. I mean, that is worrisome. But then I hear all the budget talk. So so you have to understand from my point of view, where I'm sitting. I hear the budget stuff, and then I live in the building, and I live with the kids. So there's these two, and there's kind of opposing views in terms of school choice, because school choice monies have funded things, and then to say no school choice.
But we're still getting the income from the current school choice.
Right, but if we have.
We're just not
yeah,
adding, we would hypothetically not be adding to that income.
Do we have any data from the Berlin apartments that affected Tohoto enrollment?
We know we have students living there.
Right,
I mean,
we know the students who are living there.
Numbers wise?
So we know,
Fair number.
Elementary was like 700 kids. For all those apartments, it was very surprising.
Right, that's what I mean. So we think about like, oh my God, these apartments are gonna bring in 40 kids. You don't know, right?
You don't know.
But there are studies, right? When that was presented on the Berlin floor, I remember they got up and they had charts upon charts upon charts that said how many kids would be coming into the school district. I don't understand the numbers on all that, but would you say it was accurate?
It ended up being accurate. We were very afraid when those went up, because it's huge. It's gotta be double the size of
it is huge.
what's going
some
on.
of them are a couple of bedrooms.
I was gonna say, how many bedrooms?
Most of the bedrooms in trail, whatever it is, they're like 1-bedroom apartments.
In the Boylston one?
In the Boylston one. Berlin is more of a mix of.
Well, that's
No, there's two and 3-bedroom apartments that are big, right, in Boylston. There's a couple of apartment complexes. So there's a high end behind Clinton Savings. I haven't seen anybody coming from there. But the new ones that are just opening up, that is next to, or like right off of 140.
Yeah.
There's 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And there are, yes.
I mean, to Lisa's point about the budget, I mean, 10 kids, that's 50 grand. The budget's 20 some odd million.
I mean, it's a dwindling
I mean,
fund anyway.
I think the tough thing is to, as far as the numbers, these are the projected numbers based on what we have now. And we don't know, like I said, I know that 95 is not necessarily the same 95 students that are here now, right? Because I do know probably at least 5 that are not going to be returning, right? But again, you don't know how many are going to be coming in.
Is that 7th grade?
For the rising, right,
The
so 7th graders, right, yeah.
Right. Lisa, did you have a question?
Yes, so I just want to build a little bit on what Lori brought up. I'm usually in favor of school choice. Like, I think it's a great thing in general, but to Lori's point, we are in unprecedented times. And we do have an influx of migrants and many more are coming, right? And they have a right to shelter. And these are people from all over the world speaking many different languages. And if we accept 4 kids in 10th grade and they all speak a different language, we're required then to translate all of the materials for them, right? And be able to present to them and educate them in their language. And that's for every class for 3 years, right? And I'm just wondering, how disruptive would that be? And how much would that cost?
I
That's my concern. I love school choice. I love the, what it gives to the school as far as numbers and the money, and I just people from different backgrounds, I think it's wonderful. But this year, that's my concern, is I don't want to take from the education of the kids that are currently here.
Right.
Taxpayer, school choice, whoever, everybody's a taxpayer if you live in the state. I don't want to take from any of them where we don't know, there's a lot of, we just don't know what's gonna happen, and I feel like it's a risk, and especially, I mean, even if you take that piece out and you just go with this enormous, like we were just looking at the listings, there's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms at the end of Sewell, and I don't know that the other apartments had 3 bedrooms, that's completely different. I just feel like, I've always supported, I feel like you, Lisa, it's a wonderful program. It's just, I feel, I'm not a gambler.
Yeah, like
And I feel like it's real, the odds are
if
not
we're ever
good.
gonna not do it, this is the year to not do it.
Yeah.
I'm curious, I mean, if we vote now a certain way, can you, or if you desire to suggest a placement, like, I don't know, come August, is that, because I know at last year I think you advocated for an additional slot after, after our vote.
Numbers and stuff like that, yeah.
It's June.
But can you open up school slots it has to be for the following year, it can't be like if in December you say, oh,
No, I mean, if school committee votes for it.
Right.
Yep, and that has always been my understanding, that this is a school committee decision. So when this to me reflects the available space. It really is a school committee decision in terms of what you want to see. I can give my input, I can reflect on it. I think school choice is great at 6, 8, and 9. I think those are pivotal years. I think those are really great years to get students in. The other years are very tricky because, why? You wanna understand the why, and we can't. So this request is a reflection of opportunity that is available, but it really is what school committee's desire is.
Are there any current siblings that you know are applying that you would advocate for?
Not that I'm not aware of any siblings. Everybody who's in is already in with their siblings.
There may be a couple of again, school choice siblings, right? So there's a couple of current school choice here at Tohoto in the high school that I think they're hoping for the middle school sibling to come in. And then I know that we fielded calls in the office as far as what do you have? And, not always the grade levels match up, right? So there's a lot of those calls that come in with different sibling matches.
Can we allow no school choice except for siblings?
It's
a lottery, you can't do that.
So speaking of siblings, Cindy does have one sibling request. But you also have one opening, one open spot in the second grade.
Because we know that specific sibling. Oh, no, she said that was from, that was one that we approved before the child was in school
And
and
it's not
left.
full. Right, so it's not full.
There's an empty spot there.
So
Because
instead
it
of
was-
approving a new one, we can just use that one. Or transfer it or switch it or.
The existing one?
Yeah.
If it's existing, is it still?
That was your question. Is it existing? The kid left?
You mean, but it's a different grade?
Because,
You mean transfer the one from second grade into
Yeah.
kinder? All right,
yeah,
because no one needs the spot in second grade. Is that true, Cindy?
Well, we have applications for that with staff members in the district.
staff members is my understanding, so this is non-teacher staff members, because the teachers, is my understanding, they have a right to enroll their kids.
As a teacher. So am I correct? So teachers can school choice in if they elect to do so.
But it doesn't need to be approved as a school choice. It's part of one of their benefits is through their contract.
We have to have the
No.
opening, the school choice opening.
Yeah.
Yeah. We looked at the policy, yeah.
I thought,
I remember that from when we.
no, I thought that was a
Yeah.
COVID thing that came out of COVID, no.
No.
All right.
We were gonna change it, we never did.
Yeah.
It's teachers, it's not staff, and it's only open.
Right, that's what we're talking about, teachers.
Yeah, but it's only spots that we approve. So we have to decide on school choice, then we open up the lottery.
Okay.
Teachers, children, and siblings get first preference in the lottery, but we have to approve the spots
Gotcha.
first, based on the space in the buildings.
Okay.
So which is what we're deciding now. So
one at BES.
So Cindy said that there's another staff member that wants a second grade spot as well. Gotcha.
So that would be the existing one instead of the new one.
The existing one, and then she wants to add one in kindergarten for another staff member.
For sibling.
All right, do you guys want to vote on
Yes.
BES school choice, because that
Yes.
seems pretty simple?
Is it a,
Or
is
do
a
you-
staff member or a sibling?
It's a sibling who's also a staff member, she said. It's a teacher who's,
It's two. So there's already a child in there in a certain grade that has a sibling coming in kindergarten. And then there's a staff member with a second grade child and a kindergarten child. That being said, if we keep the second grade like it is, one new, the existing one, or just the existing one, it brings that child in, I'm hesitant with K. I did put due to the sibling bring one in, I think we need to see those numbers more. I don't want those numbers to spike up. It's an unknown.
Yeah.
We want to keep those numbers low, especially score-wise and.
Keep them low now, and if we know different in June, we can revisit.
so you want one, you're recommending one in K and one in 2.
No, she just said she's not so sure.
0 in K and 1 in,
The sibling in K, so the sibling of the already existing.
so that's
child.
1 in K,
One in K, and so then,
and then the
one in second grade.
1 in 2. 1 in second. 1 in second and 1 in K. All right, so that's how you have it in your report, is what you're recommending.
But if you're looking at it, it would be one existing in second grade, so there's one already there open. If that's open, we don't need that spot, it's still open. Even if we can get that staff member's child, and we can. What's gonna hold that up is the K spot. But right now, I'm suggesting just that one due to the sibling for K.
Okay, all right.
That makes sense?
So, yeah, so we have to vote on adding 1 spot in K.
And the sibling is not related to staff.
No, the
No, they're both staff members.
Yeah.
There's, all right,
So there's possible 2 students, kids of staff that want to go into K.
Second and K.
The second.
yeah, second here, we're talking just K. You just said 0 for second for right now, the 1 in K,
The one
because of the
existing,
sibling.
the one existing in second, that's still open, keep it open.
Yeah.
And then 1 in K right now, and I like the idea of waiting until August to see the numbers.
So that would change these numbers that we're looking at on your sheet to 0 for 2, because there is an existing, we don't need to vote on an existing.
Right.
In 1K.
I think you have.
That sibling in K, is that the staff member or is that just sibling?
That is a staff member that already has a child there.
Okay,
I think you have to vote again.
we haven't voted yet.
On the, no, I bet you have to, even though there's an existing spot because somebody left, you have to kind of re-vote in that
Mhm.
spot, even though it's already there. It's kind of a.
We're not sure that it exists after the child leaves, so rather than have to worry about it, have somebody raise a question later, if you just, when you vote on these, acknowledge that existing school choice slot still exists.
It's not new, it's just existing.
So,
You voted on.
so it would be, could I have a motion to approve school choice at Boylston Elementary School as follows? 1 spot in kindergarten and 1 spot in second grade.
No, it would be,
For two.
The 2 spots in second grade?
It's only, you're
No.
adding, you're
no,
adding.
it's 1 spot, it's 1 or 0. It's 1 or
1
0.
spot in second
Finance.
grade and 1 in K.
It's 1 or 0, it's unknown. The 1 in kindergarten, the 1 in second would be only for the existing spot that's already been voted to remain open.
Yes.
It's not 2 in second.
No, it's 1 in second and 1 in
What
K.
did yes, I just said that.
You
said 2.
That's so
moved. You
No,
said 2.
my motion was 1.
No, it was 2.
Lisa,
1 in,
Nicole,
1 in kindergarten.
the motion was 1.
1 in kindergarten, 2 in second, you said.
No, I said
No.
1 in second.
1 spot. in
Lori
second.
said 2.
I said 1 and 1. The
Laura's
motion
not
on the
fucking
table is 1 and 1. 1 in second and 1 in K.
Okay.
That's the motion on the table. That's what Cindy's needed.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm an aye as well. All right, so do we have to approve
I'm
adding
opposed.
none in Berlin?
For the record, I'm opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said aye.
No.
All right, so one opposed. Do we have to vote in Berlin on 0?
Just do it.
All right, could I have a motion to approve no school choice spots for Berlin Memorial School?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
right, any opposed? All right, I'm an aye as well, that motion passes. All right, so it sounds like Tohoto. I'm gonna put a motion out there and then we can talk about it. All right, so could I please have a motion to approve 0 school choice spots at Tohoto?
So moved.
All right, Lisa. Second. All right, Laurie, discussion.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Adjunct.
We know, we lose kids from 8 to 9. Massively. We know if we can build a middle school culture, our kids, I firmly believe, will stay in district. Not all of them, we're not gonna keep the kids that wanna do the trades. You know, we're not gonna keep those stellar athletes maybe that wanna go to St. John's and play for BU hockey, right? But we can do better and keep these kids. We have to build a
So
culture.
let's
in
do
middle
that.
school.
Yeah,
And I do
let's do that. That's not the
appreciate
conversation.
I think we gotta keep
Nope,
our.
and I appreciate having the vice principal there that's driving and helping at that middle school level, Lord, and I've been saying this for a long time, that if we can lock in that middle school, we're gonna be in good shape.
John, do you have rumors of any 6th graders, well, current 6th graders, or Ed and Cindy not going to Tohoto?
Not a rumor, I had a request for a reference, the siblings already in private school, so the
Yeah.
younger brother wants to go.
And a lot of those private schools, again, it's that 7th grade opening, you know, you have a lot of private schools that are like, you know, pre-K to K to 8, and then you have a lot of the middle high private schools that now start at 7 to 12. And that is also something to just note as a difference in the last 10 or so years. Notre Dame, St. John's, that's new that they opened those 7th and 8th grade programs. Holy Name as well, which is now St. Paul's, that's new, that's 7th and 8th grade. So that's new in recent years.
So what with the numbers, I proposed to 0, not for budgetary purposes at all, although that helps. But I would just shift the numbers around that are here. Do 1 and 12, 3 and 11. The 10th grade is so small. And you don't know unless you're like in it with your kids, you know, and their friends, and it's small can be detrimental. That's a small, 76 kids is small. A graduating class of 65 is small. And then at that middle school level, I understand your point, you know, you'd like to keep it at 80. But I mean, we have currently 89 residential kids in 7th grade. I think wanting to keep it at 80 is.
I mean, I don't think 7th grade, 95 or at 88, it's at 85.
I would go to
9th grade
90.
is already 89.
Yep, I would go to 90 everywhere, all that, 7th, 8th, 9th.
I mean,
90, 90, 90.
I'm kind of looking at the 6th grade, like, but.
Sure,
maybe
same.
not 5 as room for the apartments.
Yep,
I don't know if I agree with adding at 9, because it's already one of the biggest classes, like the upcoming 9th grade.
Those numbers also, I think will shift.
Right, because that's current
That
ninth
doesn't
without
include
any
Assabet.
Assabet, St. John, St. Mark's, and that number's 100%
But
gonna
we can
shift.
vote that
Looking at the
if
trend.
if that number is low, can't we vote it again in like September, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, I read Sherwood first.
So when do you, so I know by now, St. John's has said to the middle school and the high school, do they let you know, or is it at the mercy of the family?
It's the parents.
Oh, they're not gonna, yeah, they're probably not gonna wanna let anyone.
So that's why we don't have, like, I
Gotcha.
can ask the guidance counselors all I want, but they will, if the parents don't say anything, I don't know who's leaving.
Right.
I have no way of knowing who's leaving.
Right. So it's a guess, yeah.
But you usually have them over the summer then, is that? Like if they didn't enroll for fall classes or something?
No, everybody still enrolls. Everybody still enrolls, even if they go to Assabet, because there can be a last minute change. So everybody who's a resident still enrolls for a class in case something falls. And you know, what if a parent loses their job? And they're like, oh, I can't afford the tuition. You know, I mean, there are myriad reasons for, right?
Julie,
to have
until we
them
get the exit
stay there.
data, until we get
Well,
the exit
we
data,
no, that's
we
true.
won't know.
We won't know why they leave, but we can certainly
We can
look
build
at
the
the
programs we want
enrollment
built.
history. We can certainly look at the enrollment history
And see what happens.
from FY 17 up till now.
We can
grade
see
8 to
how
9.
many leave. We can't see
Yes,
why they leave.
it's, the numbers are staggering. Yes. look
Yes,
at it.
why are they leaving? Is it because we don't have X, or is it because we don't do trades? I mean, I don't know.
Well, we
Do
get.
you know? Do you know? Do you know?
I don't know.
The vote, there's a motion on the table. Let's vote on it.
All right. Anyone else, any more discussion?
So just historically speaking, it's around 10.
10 to 13 kids.
More-ish, but 10 plus,
Average probably.
except 23.
Yeah, I mean, now we're dealing with them.
All right.
This is the same. This is the projections.
23, 24.
We're gonna vote, and then if it fails, then we'll make another motion. All right, so the motion on the table is 0. You ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm an aye, opposed?
No.
Okay, so that was 2 opposed, 4 in favor, that motion passes. Sorry.
Can we have it on the agenda for like June? If there's any recommendations from Lisa, like if there's a sibling or or once we get a better idea of who.
If we have more data, but we already voted on it, so yeah, if we have more data, yeah.
You know.
If there's some changes, absolutely, Jess, I'm not opposed to that. All right, Janelle.
Okay, great.
Great.
Yeah, I am. Sure. Sure, so I submitted a report in collaboration with Sally and John. And as we were finalizing our budget needs for FY '25, putting our proposals together, DESE's annual local special education determination was released. We were extremely disappointed to receive a needs intervention rating for 2023. Leading up to 2023, the district always received a meets requirements, which is the top tier rating. So this definitely came as a bit of a surprise, and as an admin team, we took some time to dive into that rating and the data to better understand it. There are a couple pieces that I'm still working on, and DESE frankly has been a little bit slow in rolling out some of that information. So there are a few details that I'm not entirely at full speed with just yet, but we're getting there. So the rating is among 8 interconnected ways that DESE supervises school districts, and there's a graphic that I included in the report to show you that. So that graphic represents this annual rating that we received. And interestingly, it also includes that TFM rating that we had received and that I spoke about earlier this school year. When we did our tiered focus monitoring earlier this school year for special education and for civil rights, the district was found to be in compliance with all criteria reviewed. So there weren't issues there. And that TFM included an extensive look at our procedures, our policies, and as well as our student records, and it included interviews. So it was a more holistic look at our practices and procedures. And, but going back to this rating that we're talking about today, this report indicates that despite all of that proper implementation of special education requirements and civil rights, the outcomes for students, for special education students, is not what we would like it to see in some areas. The data points that are included in that 2023 rating are from 21, 22, and 23. And I don't believe that they are necessarily news to us as a school community. Some of the issues, or most of the issues actually identified, were corrected before the rating report even came out. As required, we're engaged in DESE's technical assistance, root cause analysis, and improvement planning. And the details of that improvement planning that are already underway are also described in the report. Any questions? Open it up for questions.
For the tiered focus monitoring, who was the body that did that?
That's also DESI.
That's also DESI.
Yes, so, and that's the part of, they take a look at districts in so many different ways, which is why I included that little puzzle piece graphic to show that it's not just a one and done look and review at school districts. They have many different ways to come in and take a look.
I have another question. For indicator 3, the item 1 that you talked about, what are the standards that they're talking about? Is that MCAS? Is that Ainsworth?
Indicator 3 does refer to MCAS, and that's the graph of data that's on page, that is also on page 3, coincidentally. And there are 4 areas that indicator 3 is broken down into. And so ultimately, indicator 3 is a comparison of proficiency rates for students with and without disabilities, and the issue is in the gap for achievement in those students.
What is the approved or acceptable gap?
It is, that's a great question. I'm not sure that, I would have to get back to you on that, on what the acceptable gap is. It's a good question. Done by percentage, right? So, yeah. No, I'll keep an eye out for that detail.
I would imagine it would greatly vary upon the students that have the IPs and what their accommodations are.
You know, I doubt that, to be honest. I really do think this is a comparison. You have this many students with IEPs, without IEPs that are taking the test. I don't believe that that's differentiated by disability or level of need.
I'm just in real life.
Yes, but I don't believe it's taken account to in this rating or in this data.
Another question? Feel free to interrupt. In the elementary kind of interventions that you mentioned the Orchard and Gillingham program. I'm curious when that was implemented, like what year? So maybe we don't see those effects yet. And then if that program is evidence-based, because I know there's a lot of, old school reading versus.
Yeah, Orton Gillingham definitely follows the science of reading. It's up to speed on all of the modern, philosophies in reading instruction. It's definitely up to par. The district started training educators in Orton Gillingham, I don't know, maybe 5 or so years ago. But we have definitely increased our focus on that, and we have been able to train additional educators, especially in the last couple of years. At Tohoto, there is an Orton Gillingham certified educator, and there's one at Boylston who's in process of earning her certification, hopefully by the end of the school year. It's an incredibly intensive process. And there is one in Berlin as well that is certified. And in addition to that, we have educators who have received training in those methodologies, but perhaps haven't received full certification.
As you mentioned in your report, the 10 half days that we approved in our calendar I would imagine help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Be more, implemented across the district. Sorry.
Are you all set?
Okay.
No more?
I also have questions. I know Lisa has questions, but.
No, Jess, are you all done?
Go ahead, Jess.
Okay. It was awesome to see that you mentioned the Quest Walk is going to be moving not only from the middle school, but now into Toronto. So the teachers will have that period of time to do those interventions without them missing out on subjects. And then also the STAG program, the BITE program, that it has social emotional learning components, an adjustment counselor, and a paraprofessional to help kids coming from absentees into, back into the school.
And actually, just due to a grant that we just received, we now have a coach from DESI that's working with the individuals that have that and giving them additional suggestions and those kinds of things. So they've just started that.
And go for it. I have to figure out what my notes mean.
Okay. Julie, did you?
I don't have it.
Or Lori?
Those were great.
Lisa?
I was just wondering, do you have any idea if this is a trend that is being seen in other school districts in the state?
I don't have a sense of that, to be honest with you. I think that, the rating comes out each year. To be honest, they change the criteria for the rating each year. My understanding is it was changed quite a bit this year. And I think that there's so many different variables, and it's so data-driven, that I do believe that the size of a school district can contribute to perhaps the rating. There was one area that was, not a strength for us, but it really came down to we only had a data set of one student. And unfortunately, it wasn't even about the student, it was about like the meeting date. So I know that the district size sort of worked against us in that one way.
Yeah.
But I don't have a sense of that.
Did you say that goalposts change or the criteria changed this year?
Yes, and my understanding is that it actually changes each year. And my understanding is, that it shifts a little bit. I mean, I don't think it's over here and then over here. It's sort of swaying a little bit in the same area. It's all about federal indicators. And my understanding is there were more substantial changes to it this year than perhaps in previous years.
And schools aren't told those changes beforehand so they can work on it?
I don't believe so. I believe that they're announced, to be honest, this 2023 rating didn't come out until just a handful of weeks ago. So it feels like that information is coming out much later. And I don't know that it's so data driven. I don't know that this is necessarily something like a test that we can study for and really ramp up on.
Well, there's things you are supposed to be doing to fix this. So you can't just start working on those before the evaluation. Like if they're gonna change
I think she said she did.
Yeah, actually, some of these pieces that were corrected before the rating even came out.
Right, so you have now, so that's my question. Do you know how the rating or how the evaluation criteria is going to change so you can start to address that, but you're saying no?
Not necessarily, no. We know what those federal indicators are. We know what that whole set is. Those are well known. Which ones they're gonna choose to include in the rating each year can change a little bit.
So what, how does the school fall so far? This is the lowest rating?
No, it is not.
It's
There's
not.
a rating below.
So there's one rating below, so we were high, there's a rating below that, and then we're here, and then there's one lower.
Yep. And we were half of 1 percentage point away from the rating above. The score is the score. Again, we're very disappointed by it. But in looking at it statistically, we're the very high range of that.
So last year, we asked for a lot of money from the towns in the budget for special ed. We asked for a lot this year again, not necessarily getting everything we asked for. This is a tough blow to the taxpayers that we're asking money for.
But it was 23, right? So our budget
Yeah.
this year didn't.
Mary
affect last
doesn't
year.
care about that. Mary's gonna see this and say, you asked for all this money and yet your rating fell.
That's why
So how do
needed
we
it.
address?
Our response is that's why we needed it, because we saw this happening and.
And then we
this year
heard,
will be better.
we hear from the teachers all the time when we're talking about MCAT scores. We heard from him, was it January, February? The state wants these kids to fail. They set the tests up for them to fail, and then they've now failed the school because the kids did fail. How does that relate?
So we're expected to have all students participating in MCAS, and you can see actually that we meet that standard, right? That we have 100% of students participating. And we have students with a range of needs, and we are providing their services through special education. The majority of our students are receiving their instruction in the general education setting, which was a strength in the report that they're included. This is a very inclusive school community. Our students spend most of the day in regular classrooms in the least restrictive environment. I think it goes back to the point about professional development, having more time with our teachers so that our teachers are increasingly equipped to meet the needs of all students. It is particularly complex. It certainly doesn't boil down to a simple fix or a simple answer.
It seems like such a high or a large fall.
In the rating, I agree. It was a tough
It was quite a hit, as you might imagine. And, I think it's important too, to remember that of many of these issues, the district was able to address before this rating even came out. And some of those issues don't necessarily come from within inside a special education, right? This is about how factors are impacting students with special education, not necessarily special education practices and procedures. So it's not just one concentrated area.
So the state doesn't think that we're impacting them well enough?
That according to that rating, that's correct.
But those issues have been addressed previously before this report.
Correct.
And interventions have been put in place. So like indicator 13, 2 out of 40 students, there was technical or compliance errors that were then fixed. Could you, respecting HIPAA and any of that, like, could you allude to what those technical errors were? Like, just so we can.
Yeah, I can,
like, the
sure.
magnitude of that?
Yep, so for indicator 13, right, so the data set was 40 students. And as you just said, there were technical/compliance errors for 2 students. One was related to, so in IEP, so in special education, we write a document, in IEP, an individual education program. What drives that plan, that program, are annual measurable goals that are meant to be updated each year. And at a certain age, those goals are meant to be connected to the student's post-secondary vision. And so this was the error that was related to that there was a technical error that one of those goals didn't get updated fully. It doesn't, right, we had the meeting, we still, did right by the student, we still did many things right, but when it came to checking 10 or so boxes, there was one of those boxes that we couldn't check, and that's the reason why. So there's one. The second one is evidence that, if appropriate, a representative of any participating agency was invited to the IEPT meeting. So some students work with additional outside agencies, especially as they're approaching leaving high school. So they might be getting services from the Department of Mental Health or Department of Developmental Services. They might be working with MRC to get job-related skills. And we had a student that was younger than expected to be working with an agency like that. We missed inviting that outside person in the expected amount of time. It was a staff misunderstanding. We retrained the staff, we corrected that error, we made sure that that person's input was available for the team and that the student was not negatively impacted. It was very much a technical error.
And then there's also a problem resolution system, PRS, that anyone can submit concerns or complaints to.
That's correct.
And so there was five different.
There were different areas that came out of that, and those areas have all been corrected as well. And again, some of those areas are very external to special education, but that do impact all students, of course, including special education. And it so happened that there was a connection between those two areas and between those two groups in those areas.
And so I see the bullying policy needs to be reviewed again in 2024.
November of 2024, it needs to be updated again, yes, please.
Yeah, I just missed that one.
I'm curious, like, are there other policies that need to be, like harassment or like that need to be reviewed at a certain schedule?
I believe that there are, yes. I'm not necessarily prepared to speak to those at this point, but I do believe, yes, that there are.
The MASC lets us know that when policies need to be updated.
Do they?
Yeah, that's how we know what our policies are. They just gave one
They
in
have
January
a whole
2023.
page on it.
Say it again, Mike?
They have a whole web page.
Yeah,
But
they
like
do.
in terms of like which ones are required.
As far as they
to be
relate to
reviewed,
this, I don't know.
like every 2 years, like because they wouldn't know when we voted on this in November 22, so.
Well, I don't know, they usually let us know when a policy needs to be updated.
That's within the policy, within their, in their, like.
Yeah, they send out bulletins all the time. As far as it relates to this, I'm not exactly sure what to answer you. But yeah, they send out updates.
Didn't we just update it last year?
November of 22.
I don't know.
November of
Particular
2022.
one.
Yeah, I know, yeah. That one I'm.
So you missed it for 23.
No, it's every 2 years.
Biannually. Oh, it's
Yeah.
biannually.
Biannually, yeah.
But we missed it for
We had missed it, so it was,
22.
right, it was done in 2018 and then done again in 2022,
So you missed it for 20.
For 20, and I mean,
November
COVID,
20.
2020, and see how it might have happened.
I'm curious, like, is there, maybe we need to create a calendar for policies, like when we need, like, just for future committees, like this is a policy that needs to be reviewed by this point.
We have.
You have a calendar already? Oh, okay. Okay. And so your agendas are based.
2020, I wasn't here, so I don't know what they were doing then, but
Now you do.
there's also that page, we were on it yesterday.
Fun.
Does anyone have any more questions?
Thank you.
Great. Sally?
I just have this wellness committee policy in
Okay,
my first
yeah.
read. Actually, I think Lori and I worked at it yesterday.
Yes. Did anyone want, did you want to speak to it, or you would just want questions on?
Sure, I mean, I'm just happy to say that Lisa Mayer is on the wellness committee with me as well. We had a great opportunity to Framingham State University to take a course that basically taught us how to assess our current policy and how to write a policy that would include all the necessary federal mandates. And so we put it together. We also had it reviewed by coaches that work for Framingham State that are also associated with DESE, and they were all very happy with it. So yesterday there was a question that I am looking into. I've gotten some answers back, but I'll follow up and finish up on that before the day.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions on the wellness policy?
Sally was nice enough to come into our policy subcommittee meeting yesterday, and we went over it. And Lisa, you weren't there, but I was so impressed by this whole document. It was really easy to read, and it was actually enjoyable to read. Like I was, but very professional and comprehensive. So nicely done.
Well, it was a really great update compared to what we had, but it was really what we learned from the class. So, and there were a lot of tools from the government that made it easy for us to, know what to add and everything. And we put our own little, flair on it. But yeah,
really good.
it was,
Yeah.
I feel really happy about it.
Thank you for working on that.
DESE, didn't you also share with DESE?
Yes, they had a couple of people look at it. And Jason was on our committee as well.
Random question on the wellness policy, Lisa. I noticed walking in on the door, there's was it a Chipotle fundraiser going on? Is that what it was?
Oh, Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a part in the wellness policy about any fundraisers involving food has to be certain types of food groups, so would that one
Outside school
qualify?
hours.
It was
It's outside school hours?
It
All right.
applies to everything during the school day and up to 30 minutes after the day ends.
All right.
What was the sign up during the school day?
I don't know, it's on the front door. of the
Well,
building.
it's a fundraiser and so this is opportunities that a lot of restaurants provide, a lot of local restaurants. So they partner with student groups, and a certain percentage of the meal goes back to the school.
Yeah.
So if a family decides to go there for dinner, a certain percentage of that. So it's very common.
Yeah, the phrasing says parent-teacher association, so I assume that would be referring to like what the PTO did from Boylston recently, and send the flyers home and you buy frozen cookies.
Yeah, but so the wellness policy here says the committee recognizes the value of fundraisers for school-sanctioned student groups and clubs. So PTO, I believe, falls under school-sanctioned.
Well, they're completely separate organizations.
Right, but they're fundraising on behalf of the school, so it goes through the fundraising policy.
Page 5, the phrase
Right.
says parent-teacher associations are asked to research new fundraising opportunities to replace programs promoting unhealthy foods. So would that really affect like Nature's Classroom or?
That's what I'm asking, like, are there existing things that the kids are doing for various fundraisers that this is going to impact? So that was one of the things we talked about at the policy meeting yesterday, was actually going through this, and because this does reference other topics that are covered in policies, like there's a harassment piece in here. We have harassment policies, so we just need to make sure that all the policies line up with what this is.
So wait, this policy is gonna dictate what the PTO and other outside separate entities can fund?
I don't know, it says that,
I'm confused on that.
That was a concern I had as well.
I think it's just on school grounds.
Right, this is during the school day and up to 30 minutes.
During
after
the
day ends.
Yeah.
So like, if the PTO wants to send home flyers and they're selling cookie dough, they can still do that.
Well,
We
but I
recommend
think
that they
that
find
part needs
better
to be,
options.
I think we talked about it needs to be
this is
specified, right?
PTA. I mean, mean.
So this document needs to be specified with that language, because I think maybe in one of the edits it got cut out or something. But yeah.
I mean, the general idea is that we don't want to be promoting unhealthy foods through the schools.
No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
You sell Pop-Tarts every day, fruit roll-ups every day.
Well, that's the question. I didn't even have this
That's not-
question before I walked through the door and I saw it on the door, so that's why I had the question.
But you know, if the booster sells something during a game, for instance,
Mhm.
at night, this doesn't apply to it because it's later in the day. It's after
Right.
the 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But there are rules about signs being up.
Well, the marketing.
Yeah, the
but-
marketing.
Yeah, but the marketing is on like things like the ice cream case or something like those kinds of things.
And that's another policy. There's a separate corporate advertising and policy. I forget the name of it, but it covers what type of advertising can be in school. So we just need to make sure this lines up with that and any other policies out there.
Yeah, I mean, just, having a kid in nature's classroom, like, it's all food-based, basically, like, a night at Papagino's or, spaghetti dinner, which was after school hours, but.
Well, we verified that it's after school hours, right? It's,
Yeah,
you
so
guys can do what you like.
This was not.
Dinners are after school hours, though, the Papagino, yeah, all that stuff's at the Chipotle, that's all after school.
But this is saying that the PTO couldn't send home magazines.
Yeah, no, I agree, I know.
Where it would be the parent's decision to purchase that or not. It's hard to raise funds, as we know, and so I 100% on board with healthy food, but I think it's gonna handcuff some efforts if.
Don't they do a meat raffle too at Tohoto?
Not here.
No,
That's for this
boosters. Yeah,
But it's
boosters.
just advertising.
Oh, that's
email.
off school
Are
hours.
these directives from DESI?
It's more federal from,
Okay.
yeah.
Just because I'm looking at like the last, on page 5, the last bullet says in-school publications and media, like advertisements in school publications, school radio stations, in-school television, computers, school-sponsored internet sites, and announcements on the public announcement system. So like, I'm thinking when we do like our weekly, end of the week roundup, if there's an advertisement for something, does that fall underneath that? I think we just want clarity on it.
Yeah, so that language just
That would
has to
be
get
a
added
school
in.
publication, right? So advertising like a Chipotle night or.
Wouldn't that fall under smart snacks?
I think Chipotle would.
It does.
Yeah, Chipotle would, you're
Yeah.
right, and I'd go to that.
Actually.
But like I'm thinking, one of the first things I thought of that I mentioned.
Oh, John just
Sally,
crammed a bunch of Krispy Kremes down us.
was the Booster Club does like every fall, like bread braids and cookie dough
Right.
and different things like that. So would they not be allowed to advertise their fundraiser like on the door and in the weekly roundup? Yeah.
I think they wouldn't be, I think.
So we've had
And
problems
this is,
with,
but, and to be
this.
clear, this is not like you and Sally didn't come, this is
Right, right,
federal, this
yeah.
is, you guys are putting everything in alignment, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to get out there.
Yes, that's exactly it.
So,
But it just encourages us to find better options.
Like Chipotle.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this because it says it's for the marketing of foods. So that's a marketing of a fundraiser. It isn't marketing a food item. So none of these, like the Chipotle or the.
I mean,
or
that's a pretty gray area, Lisa. That's like the difference between, the school didn't send out a sexuality survey. They only encouraged the student to send it. I mean, that's the gray area.
It's like we're not advertising Coca-Cola or something like that.
Right. Right.
But you can purchase it at any one of those locations.
Right.
Right.
Did you guys like run this by the PTOs and all that before you are putting it in front of us? Or did you have the PTOs or BEF or the groups that actually do the fundraising? Are they aware of this?
They may
They're
not
because
be
it's a
yet.
draft, we haven't put it into place yet.
But it's a federal directive.
Yeah.
They just,
I
You know what I mean?
agree, I
Like-
agree, and trust me, I don't like the cookie dough fundraisers, I don't buy that stuff.
We've talked about it. A couple of us in the PTO group are aware of it.
For Tohoto,
Um,
I think that you guys, if this committee would be able to at least loop in.
Well, that's the thing.
Oh, well,
After this is
well,
all
we plan
approved, then we
that's-
would
yeah,
need to
those are next
communicate.
steps.
Okay, after it's approved?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
When it's all in place, then, we'll do more
I
communications.
was just like to say, I have personally bought the cookie dough one, even though I love Chipotle.
Ah.
But
I get it.
Our goal for this year is to research all this and put the policy into place, and then moving forward, it's about communicating and monitoring the policy.
Mhm.
So.
Okay.
But it's not the school, it's parents. I mean,
Right.
I don't know, like,
It's school sanctioned groups.
but like,
I can reach out to one of those coaches.
we were
and
cleared
clarify
to
that.
fundraise for Nature's Classroom. So, I mean, then that severely limits how many fundraisers.
Yeah, we're trying to understand, some of these things are, and don't get me wrong, when we were talking about some of the fundraisers we have here already, we were kind of sad, oh, the kids won't be able to do this or that, we get it,
Yeah.
But these are the things that were, federally mandated. But I am also happy to reach out to those coaches and just get further clarification and see if I can look into it some more.
And well, I'm curious of the phrasing, because it says, are asked to research new fundraising opportunities. So is this, I guess, how firm? I mean, this is like suggest, or is it 100% if you don't meet Smart Snack, which I'm
This is
not
prohibited.
totally familiar with?
Yeah, you can Google.
There's
There's
links,
very-
there's
Yeah,
links in
first
the
degree
policy.
has to be such, yeah.
Is,
Yeah.
so there's sections on here about the
Yeah.
school meal programs. So is Whitson's proposal including all this?
I believe so, but I
mean,
don't
sure,
know.
it's
I-
standards, right?
Yeah, I would just, it's so, right, so that's just interesting, like, if you look at the snacks that we're able to sell
Right.
through them, and they, so, I don't know if we've had communication, it is interesting, and we also make revenue on that, right, so that's just like a fair amount, right, so, just tell me that the amount of fruit roll-ups, you're right, there's Pop-Tarts. Box chips. Some
Pop-Tarts
healthy-
are a smart snack?
That's what I'm curious, like, I don't know the answer.
Like, would,
Because this rule was already in place. I mean, this was already a federal rule that we were supposed to be following.
Yeah, I guess just in the application of out of school, not 30 minutes after school, from midnight to 30 minutes after school, does it really apply, I guess is my question.
No, it doesn't, it says in there it does not.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's sold during fundraisers. Yeah, it's only, yeah.
It's exempt.
It is
But then does that
exempt.
apply, like, then we can't send a flyer home with kids? That if your parents decide to make that
I
decision.
don't think sending, well, I guess it's the.
And that just goes what I
It
was
is
there.
promoting.
Mhm.
It is promoting
That's what I
that.
want to go back to the coaches with.
Okay,
But-
yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so if you want to do that, that would be good, and then you'll bring that back to us next time.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sally. All right, anything else on that?
My only question was the discussion around like 20 minutes of recess for the whole day. It was like, because I think it's currently 30 at the elementary school at least. Like, I'm just curious what the conversation was and why it was only 20 minutes, because that seems really,
I think that's the
It's a legal minimum.
recommendation, the minimum.
it's just a legal minimum.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we just checked around and said, what are we actually doing? So, yeah.
Yeah, I do
All
have
right,
a-
Carol had one.
No, I just had a clarifying question. It sounds like, so if and when the policy gets approved, then it goes into effect, and then anything I get from newsletter advertisement, which I'm approving for like PTOs and so on that involves food, it feels like we need to have some lead time to educate the different organizations that we won't be able to. Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Yes.
It might be
That
worth,
should-
before we actually vote on, this is only a first read, so it might be worth sending it to them
That's what I think.
and their input. Because
Yes.
we also have to go through this for actual policies that do exist now. Are they in line?
That's it.
Like, to Jess's point about recess, like, is this giving an avenue to cut recess out?
Yeah, like, ooh, we need more recess, not less.
When it's a simple change it to 30 minutes.
And to your point,
Like, that's a good, I mean, it doesn't have to be, this isn't time sensitive.
right,
In terms that we don't have to vote on it in this month or next month. Even if we look at it in June, or we identify those different areas, in the meantime, talk with the PTOs, we can still do that.
Sure, but Whitson's as well. I don't know if their bid would change based on this. I don't know.
They've got to be in compliance with federal regulations.
well, I know before they were
Maybe,
here, when
yeah.
Michael Honorado was on this wellness committee, and at the time, we were in compliance, so.
All
right. All right.
No one imagine that we are still.
Jess, you might want to email the recess question and the other one you asked to Sally so that she can maybe look into that or change it. I think maybe
Well,
we
and like,
change it
you
to
know,
30
maybe 20
minutes.
minutes is the minimum, but maybe for our district, we can hold
Yeah.
ourselves to a higher
Like-
standard.
Well, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you know, you have to
Yeah.
have
Conversation.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
I mean, it could be more, but I'm just,
All right, so that's good, and then we'll get an update next time.
All right, so
Also-
in between now and next time, I will, you will be sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then if you want to send me questions, I'll look into those.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Sally.
it's the recess time and then the,
Okay.
the PTA.
Yeah.
If this is approved, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to follow it exactly.
Yeah.
And part of the wellness
Well,
committee,
hold on.
What?
If it's approved, then yes, everybody is gonna follow it. That's the point
well,
of approving.
part of the wellness committee's charter is to monitor compliance with it. And that
Yeah.
assumes that, that not everybody's going to be following everything exactly. And just to get feedback on that and and to educate people and to report back and just to make this like healthier food thing and healthier lifestyle thing more of part of the conversation, more of a consideration.
If we approve it, they gotta follow
I think she's saying at first, it's gonna,
Yeah.
there's
there's
gonna be a
gonna be
learning
that
curve and they're gonna
timeline
help.
to
Right.
all
it. Well, that's why you send it
That's all
around
she's
now
saying.
before we approve it.
But I think it's great that you'll be doing oversight as well, because you understand it, like you guys have worked so well, to put it together, so you'll be able to disseminate and say, listen, that you may have done this before, but.
Mhm.
So
This is why
that's,
we have-
This
that's
is what we're
helpful.
encouraging for good reason.
Yeah, now it's a beautiful 14-page document. Two little concerns out of that whole document, so thank you for all that time.
Yes.
Thank you for your feedback.
So up until the policy approves of cookie dough.
Oh, I might be.
But really, do you have any format in place?
I justify it by saying I'm helping the children, that's why I like it.
There's one thing in here that's gonna be an issue in the elementary schools. Food as a reward or punishment. I think when the state senator was here, we walked in on a popcorn party. So that might need to be looked at.
Well, was that for a reward?
It says, schools will not use food or beverage as rewards for academic, classroom, or sports performance.
But is that what that party was for?
Yeah, it was for a reading.
I think we should just all drape ourselves in gray and trudge through the day.
Well,
No,
listen,
right?
they're gonna monitor this and you're gonna fail. They're gonna monitor this and you're gonna fail.
This is a very judge.
Weight Watchers is watching you.
I mean, it's a good idea, but the unintended consequences of this need to be looked at.
But there's not like failure and it's not like a
Yeah.
punitive thing. It's just more like monitoring and what are we doing?
So,
and
yeah,
how
so
are we
we could
doing?
probably-
Extra recess is okay, though, I saw that, so.
It's a smile.
Yes, yes.
Rewarding with extra recess.
Just not push-ups or running laps.
Push-ups, right?
Extra recess works for elementary, but
Oh, I know.
food works for middle school.
And college, and adults.
You do ice cream socials for honor roll anymore? Is that a thing still?
What's that?
Ice cream socials for making the honor roll? Do you do that anymore?
No.
It used to
We
be
do
a
ice
thing.
cream
All the fun's
for-
gone.
Seriously,
for some
gray and drab, like John says.
I mean, we
It's
do
not all
have,
about
right,
food.
they had like a celebration with the,
ice cream and pizza for, the, I'm trying to think, the integrated sports, right? There's a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
things.
sports. As a celebration, like kind of a
Celebration, like
banquet type
celebration.
thing.
But if it's 30 minutes after school.
but they're during Scott
It's during lunchtime, so everybody can participate.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to do that anymore under this.
So this exact, this has to be
We sell
followed.
ice cream every day.
It's supposed to be.
Well,
This is
if
coming
we
from-
order the
Yeah,
pizza
it's
from
coming
here
from
and then
the
have a salad,
CDC,
we still
I mean, or
do
the USDA,
celebration that
yeah.
luncheon,
No,
because they're
it's
selling
a
pizza
reward.
and
That's
they're
a
selling
reward.
It's a reward.
Doesn't matter what the food is, it's a
Pay
reward.
attention.
But if it's during lunch,
It's the reward.
if the kids got
Right.
food from the cafeteria and went to the room.
This is insane. We're gonna tell people how to eat now in schools.
It's policy, Julie, you gotta follow.
That's insane.
I'm gonna
That's all I have to say.
The new.
They love it.
I'm all for healthy food. This is, I heard this across the line.
But the new service, I guess, is, that, just to, what I'm also saying is the new service, right, that's following these mandates, we still are selling ice cream every day. We still have, you know what I'm saying, there's still chips available, like that is still somehow works into their configuration, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah,
So-
right, how's-
For the meals.
Well, we have snacks too. additional, right? That's not their meal. We
Right,
give additional
it's,
pieces.
it's like snacks, so once they're finished with their meal and they're cleaned up, they can buy a snack.
Luckily, otherwise they're gonna make us crazy because lunch is a half.
Well, we'll have to find out about that, like how that factors in.
Yeah. Just there's.
I mean,
a
I
lot.
think it already must be allowed, so
That's kind of
just
what I
to
think.
understand that, like why it's
It's
allowed.
that, I mean, they're getting the backing of, you know, the government funding, right? For those.
Right, yeah.
I mean, they're, it's,
Absolutely.
I just must meet that standard.
Federal.
This might be another, when Nancy comes back, this might be another question to ask her during this whole process with Whitson's. Did they go over any of this?
And wouldn't, is Rob, I mean, you would.
Yeah, Rob too,
You would
yeah.
know that too, so
Okay.
that's unfortunate.
I do remember with the snack line, because I was working the snack line for a while we were short-staffed. And during the changeover, I do remember the ordering became different because we had to adhere to stricter guidelines. So while we still have ice cream, like some of how we were ordering, right, we had to fit in this mold. So like we have a lot more baked chips, for example, right? So we have like the gummies maybe went out or the fruit rolls went out. Like, there were some changes there that probably meet these guidelines. I
So-
do think that shift has happened.
Yeah, so this is.
And
so-
the kids haven't been dramatically like,
Yeah.
you know, compromised because I think they're still.
Hopefully
finding
they're
choices.
better.
So what you're saying is this is based on federal guidelines, federal programs, federal laws. We don't necessarily need a policy to have been, to know that we're supposed to follow this.
Or we need a wellness policy.
I mean, we need a wellness policy to educate people and make sure we're doing it, but we don't need a policy to say follow the law. That's what a law is. You gotta kind of follow it, right?
I don't know, they took a class on.
Yeah, I mean, those things do exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't need this, if this policy didn't exist, we would still have to follow federal guidelines for serving food in schools. So
Well, maybe
there's a lot
just-
of
it
federal
brings-
stuff that's out there that schools are supposed to follow, even if we don't have a policy for it.
So it brings it all together.
Yeah,
under
it
that
brings it
whole
to,
mission
it's a
of wellness.
centralized document. It helps us make sure we're doing what we're supposed to. Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have any snacks? I'm hungry.
Whitson's is so confident they didn't bring a spread like last time. Would have been nice.
Is there anything else?
No. It's great.
Thank you for that long work on that.
Yes.
Yes.
It's really good for you.
Okay, Jess, would you like to give the update for the Student Success and Technology Subcommittee? Have you met?
We have not met.
Okay.
So, I mean, the only thing would be to review the master plan in a future meeting.
All right, the Budget Subcommittee has also not met, so there's been no update since the budget was voted. Lori, do you want to give an update on the Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee?
Yep, so we haven't met because we're gonna be meeting a lot come May. But in May, I think the 6th may be our meeting. And then the week after that is when you will be getting your individual, we do a self-evaluation for the school committee, and then shortly thereafter, we'll be doing the superintendent. So more information will be available at the next meeting, but just that they're coming up, those evals.
Color. Mike, did you have an update for the policy?
Yeah, there's a handful of policies that we got from MASC around the use of technology that are new policies. There's a handful that are also just changes to existing ones that we haven't sent to you yet, but the new ones, I think you do have them for first read. Paul weighed in on them, so his changes are in them. There are a couple things that, there's a placeholders, because they're a brand new policy, they don't have all the BBRSD language in there. So that will get in there. Cross references to actual policies might need to be updated, but you have the handful of those. We did talk about the wellness policy with Sally, so we covered that already. The only other thing we updated was related to the surveys that were sent out a few months ago. MASC does have a policy on that, so we looked at that. That is a policy based on a federal ruling or law. Again, we had some changes that we discussed on that. Not necessarily changes, but clarifications that we might want to do. We're going to send those to Kim before they come to you so that she has a chance to weigh in on it before you guys look at it. I mean, you can look at it if you want, but before we bring it forward to the committee.
Is that ILD?
ILD, yeah. Yeah. No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Carol, do you want to give your report?
Yeah, sure. A couple of things in my report. I did have information in here about the student nurses. I just wanted to make you aware of this. I was excited. We have an ongoing relationship for years with QCC. They asked if they could bring in student nurses to work with us, and we do have them coming as of April. They do a rotation, so there'll be extra pairs of hands in, we asked all 3 nurses who wanted them, so they'll be working in Boylston and Tohoto, and we're excited. They're all quarried, sorried, fingerprinted, but I think for the remainder of the year, it'll be great to have those students helping out in the nurse's office. I'd love to keep them all year. I'd like to come bring them. So anyway, I just wanted you to be aware of that. Berlin lease agreement, you had a chance to vote on the one lease agreement, the draft. Kristen Rubin and Spencer Holland from Merrick O'Connell. Their attorney, Heather White, we all got together in February to review the changes. After we voted, they went to Berlin, they looked at it, they had some changes. The lawyers was fascinating, fought it out on all about real estate issues. It was really interesting because it's just about the language, that's used. So they cleaned it up, they worked together on it. Anyway, what you see in front of you is what we hope to be the final product. I think the big piece of this that I wanted to point out in the lease agreement that we came to agreement on, and I think that it's a good decision, and Kristen and I felt very comfortable with this. Basically, the town will follow what our policy is. So that they don't have to keep redoing a lease every time if we change policies through the years. So, for example, the facilities use, whatever our policy says is what they will follow. What they will ensure anybody who wants to use the building follows, and what they will follow as well. It's, for example, town meetings and so on. So that's on page 2, use of the lease premise, and that's a really big change. I wanted us to have a chance to vote on it. The select board will be voting on it on April 22nd. And we're hoping that we finally have our lease in place to meet the regional district, regional agreement. And then I know that Boylston's anxiously awaiting this so that they can use similar language. Probably have less attorney fees. So.
Does anyone have any questions on the lease?
Julie, you're good with the use part for basketball and whatnot?
Yeah, I read it. I read it as that the town, that was sad. I've read this 15 times. That when it's town-sponsored events, then the lesser shall be responsible. Right?
So if any town-sponsored events, basically it says on page 2, the lesser shall comply with all building use policies and fees imposed.
So it's whatever policy we have in place.
Right, it's our policy.
It's a school committee policy.
Yeah, okay.
Because they don't really have the policies in place. They'd rather just follow what we want them to do.
Well, didn't we kind of go around that when we had the COVID with the Board of Health, remember? We lifted the mask mandate and they still had the mask mandate in Berlin. And I remember that the gentleman from the Board of Health said, no, we want the school to make the decisions for the school building.
I like that. It gives us the control and the oversight that we need to have
I agree.
of what happens in the school.
Yeah.
Even though town owns the building, they're still giving us a lot of latitude for that.
That makes sense to me.
I don't understand, yeah.
Because of policy right now, is you have to pay for a gym.
No, I thought they changed it.
Well, we waived that, but
For this year, right?
yeah,
And I thought that policy was, they were gonna look at.
so you'd have to.
So that's something you have to look at again. I think that's.
I think it's where you guys
said
discussed
the
that
last time
policy.
we were
I
gonna
can't
visit.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, we've sorted it out for now, and then we were waiting for the lease to come around.
Yeah, so then you guys can take a pass
So
at
they're
that.
saying, decide what you want in
Yeah.
policy and.
Yeah. I think that's good. Because it's ever changing. And then it's on the school committee's shoulders.
The janitor will want.
Right.
So they'll have to look at that policy after we approve this lease.
So that there's a vote on that tonight, just
The lease, yeah.
On the lease.
Yeah, we'll vote right, we can vote
Oh,
right
okay,
now,
all
unless,
right.
yeah, that's why I want to see, does anyone have any other questions on it? All right, could I have a motion to approve the Berlin lease as written?
So moved.
Laurie,
Second.
Jess, any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and thanks to Kristen Rubin, and the two attorneys, Spencer Holland and Heather White, who really did a great job with this, and everybody worked really well together sorting this out. I'm happy it's finally done. Check.
All right, wait, any, we just had a vote. Were there any opposed? No, all right.
Sorry.
No, I just want to finalize the vote. All right, I was an aye as well, so that motion passes. Did you get that, Nicole? All right, thank you.
And then just a
All right,
question
go ahead,
I wanted to put out to everybody in the preparation for the town meetings. We talked about this earlier in the meeting. I didn't know if you want to do anything, or if we just, on April 23rd, we do have that meeting time available to talk in preparation of the town meeting, to sort things out, to know who's going where, what are the potential questions we're going to be asked, who's going to speak, just basic prep things, or do you leave that to the budget subcommittee to meet on that? I just wanted to bring it forward to all of you because I don't want to go in.
If there's anything that needs to be brought up, we probably should meet as the full committee, but,
Okay.
so speaking of that, I was gonna, maybe this is the time to ask you. What, the situation, I guess I don't know the situation. Last meeting, we had the budget forum, Mary brought new numbers to us that we weren't aware had changed. So when Nancy comes back from her leave, will she be able to give us an update before the town meeting of, have any numbers changed? What is the actual numbers that we need to make sure we're doing? What do we need to say? Maybe we should have a meeting with her to figure it out.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if we should have a meeting to discuss all of that.
Also, do we need to reach out to Link to do another effort if our budget is different?
Carol and I are meeting with Link on Thursday.
We're going to see them.
Anyone that's from Berlin that wants to come is welcome. It's Thursday at 7, right, Carol?
Yeah. So I just want to throw whatever you.
So why don't we, do you guys want to plan for,
So Nancy will be back from her leave by then. She can give us the updated numbers from the state.
all right, do you guys want to plan for a tentative Zoom meeting on April 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll do that. We'll plan for a Zoom meeting. All right. Carol, did you have anything else to say? All right, we've got 2 votes. So the first one is the approval of the PEF bingo fundraiser and the service of alcoholic beverages. So I'll speak to that and then I'm going to abstain from voting on that. Who is speaking to the Nature's Classroom? Is that you, Jess? Or is that Cindy?
Oh, I can do that.
Oh, whatever, I mean.
It's just donations that we received.
Okay, all right, so do you guys, all right, so why don't we do that one first? So let's, did anyone have any questions about the donations? That's the stuff you've received thus far, correct, Cindy?
Yes.
From your fundraiser received thus far. Okay, so we have some donations we need to approve tonight. Does anyone have any questions about those donations?
There'll be more coming.
And
And May 7th is the last meeting before the trip.
okay,
So I just want to.
all right, yeah, yeah, no, it'll be on the agenda for May 7th too, yep. Yeah, because I know Keith, from Keith's Music House, they're doing a fundraiser there, so we'll make sure we get that on the agenda.
It's both schools.
It's both schools, all right. All right, so could I have a motion to approve or to accept the donations to pay for the BBRSD Nature's Classroom field trip?
So moved.
Okay, Laurie? No. Julie didn't abstain?
No.
I hear
I'll just.
All right, you can abstain. I need a second. Second. All right, Lisa. All right, any discussion on those?
There's a lot of documentation on these donations. I like it.
Did you hear that? Good job, guys.
It's about time.
Well done. That's nice to hear that one.
Oh, hey, you don't want to run into that situation where the parent wanted to take the money back last time.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will abstain.
Jess is going to abstain. I'm an aye as well. That motion passes. All right, so for the bingo fundraiser, the service of alcoholic beverages, Did anyone have any questions on that? There was a blurb. This is exactly what the group did last year. So they have hosted bingo night, and then they're gonna purchase alcohol from a distributor and sell it to make a little bit more money. The event is outside of the school. In the event of rain, alcohol will still be kept outside the school, sold and kept outside the school. There's a police detail. Was there any other questions on that?
How did it go?
It went well. It went well. We raised an extra $1,000.
From the alcohol?
Yeah. Yep.
Any issues that arose or?
Just smart.
There's limits on the drinks. You can't, there's limits on the drinks. So,
You can charge a lot for alcoholic beverages now.
I know.
We should increase the prices.
Yep.
Were there any issues that arose at the event?
No issues at all. Everyone behaved.
That's great.
So, yeah, it was fun. It was a fun little event. All right, so could I have a motion to approve the BEF bingo fundraiser in service of alcoholic beverages?
So moved.
Laurie,
Second.
Lisa, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain, or any opposed? I'm gonna abstain, so that motion passes. All right, I think that's it. We're gonna have a Zoom meeting on the 23rd. With that said, could I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second, Laurie, Julie, any discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'm an as well. Thank you.
Thank you.